Sue, for agreeing to that. But it is one of those, adjustments. Like Ethan is sitting next to me right now. He never does that at the beginning of the show. It's very awkward for me. He's like tapping me on the shoulder.
It's very cute.
And he has to put the stream up so people can watch on the X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube. And we have a fair amount of people that do that. So I ran into this guy at Qdoba last week, the day that I took off for the field trip. Did I tell you about this? And
yeah.
He stopped me and goes, hey. And it was like when the show was on because this was like 5:30. Hey, can I ask you a question? Are you that Mark Reardon guy? I usually say no. He's kind of a jerk. But he watches on the stream, and that's how he
one
recognizes
of the three.
By the way, and let me just say, because I rarely say anything positive about our studio situations, I took a peek at what they're doing in our studio, and I like what I'm seeing right now. There's a really cool computer that's like concave, it's like curved, and it's really, really big, and they're putting in new mic arms and stuff like that. So the engineers are very much working hard, and there's some optimism that we will be in the studio again by the beginning of next week.
That's great.
Which is good. But we're down here for now. We're getting through it. We got a full show today. Brian Kilmeade's coming up here in a couple of minutes for his weekly visit. We'll have Tim Fitch. One of the stories I talked about yesterday, I certainly want to piggyback off this. And Fred, I don't know if I told you this, but I tweeted before the show, maybe it was even during the show when I was talking about Kara Spencer in this fight against the police board. And that got a ton of traction on the X.
Good.
Oh, all kinds of people weighing in. By the way, you know what percentage of people weighed in and were kind of defending the city and Kara? 0.1.
Yeah.
No, there was one guy who's like, you guys. I'm like, dude, he acts like I don't see this stuff on a regular basis, some people. I work here every weekday, okay? We see some of this stuff. And that's why we're, asking for more security and police measures, which I think is something we've been talking about for years. But anyway, Tim Fitch is going to weigh in on that here in just a little bit. Former St. Louis County Police Chief Curtis Houck from Newsbusters will be with us after a Wednesday edition of Sue's News. See, I had to pause there because I'm a little confused on the day.
It is.
Duane Patterson here. The PGA Championship gets underway tomorrow in Pennsylvania, and Dan Reardon's going to give us, no relation, a preview of that coming up here. What was that? Was that a noise on the air? Was that just
I heard it in my headphones.
Okay. One of those things that we have to be careful of. Kat Rosenfeld wrote a great column at the Free Press. I like her. She's been a guest on the show before. And I want to kind of piggyback on this because it has to do with crime, and it just has to do with the way, that we are, I guess I would say, treating criminals these days. And this goes to a story that I talked about on the air, I think, on Monday with, and we even may have referenced it yesterday, with this attack that, took place with this guy that threw someone down the stairs of a New York subway terminal and, the guy died. And it was the same guy that a woman was attacked by a few weeks earlier, and she did not want to press charges because she did not want to see another black man in jail, right? That was her comment. Now, she's expressed regret about that. But when Kat wrote about this, I thought this was really interesting. She called it suicidal empathy. And she described that. Have you ever heard of that term before?
I haven't.
Really had not. Okay, so she says that's a politically loaded term to describe a decidedly human phenomenon, a romantic belief in the power of compassion to heal all wounds. The suicidally empathetic person believes that trauma is the root of all evil, that those who hurt us can be loved into submission, that the goal of justice is to humanize rather than to punish, no matter how ghastly the offense. Which is why when I think about our suicidal empathy, I don't first think about immigration or criminal justice, or even the murder of an elderly man in the New York City subway terminal by a violent serial offender this past weekend. And I thought this was interesting. She took me in a weird direction here, but bear with me because I don't know if I remember this specific case, but it's a fascinating analogy. She says, no, instead I think about the NASCAR driver who in 2005 was mauled nearly to death during a birthday party for a chimpanzee named Mo.
Oh.
So here's the story here. St. James Davis and his wife LaDonna adopted Mo as a baby in 1967 after his mother was killed by poachers. They raised them in their home. This was in California. They treated them as their child. They also made excuses for him like a child. For example, when he began biting people, he was just a baby. He was an orphan. He was a victim. The honesty I see in Mo's eyes is beyond anything I can compare it to, Davis told the LA Times in 1999 after the chimp bit a house guest, mauled a police officer, and was forcibly removed from their home and relocated to a sanctuary. But listen to this. This is where it gets really crazy. 6 years later, the Davises went to visit Mo, bringing a raspberry sheet cake to celebrate his 39th birthday. This is the chimpanzee. 2 adolescent chimpanzees, perhaps resenting the human interlopers or perhaps just envious of the cake, jimmied open the door to their cage and attacked. I don't know if I remember this one, Fred.
No, I don't.
They tore off and ate Davis's left foot, buttocks, lips, nose, and testicles before being shot and killed by a bystander. Mo, he was the original chimpanzee. He didn't attack. Mo watched all of this in silence, his lips smeared with frosting. He'd been eating cake the whole time, right? So Kat said, and again, this is a rather unusual way to get into the topic, but she goes, I share a deep and unique bond with this wild animal, and as such, will never come to harm. That's kind of the narrative of the suicidal empathetic, right? Or at least one narrative. There are others. Perhaps you've heard a woman insist that the emotionally maladjusted boyfriend who beats her is just reenacting his childhood trauma, repeating a cycle of abuse that began with his father or his father's father. Or that the guy who steals a car, robs a liquor store, is doing it to feed his sister's starving family. Or that the assassin who got gunned down, a father of 2, on the street was expressing his justified anger against capitalism, corporate health care. Suicidal empathy tells us that what looks to the casual observer like violence and disorder is not just that, but it's understandable, perhaps even noble and worthy of compassion, if not outright approval. And Kat's right about this. These big stories, and obviously she's referring to the United Healthcare CEO and some of the other stories that we've been familiar with. But it's that worldview that sees no perpetrators, only victims, hurting people all the way down. And she says, look, I've written about this before, and there's very many parallels to St. Louis, which is why I kind of bring this up, that this mindset pervades the discourse around criminal justice on the left, and especially in New York City, where the politics of power and privilege have an unfortunate tendency to supersede common sense. And she offers real-life examples. Jordan Neely, a deranged and mentally ill man, subdued, tragically, unintentionally killed on that subway by Danny Penny in 2023. The empathy, this is a great case, right? Think about it. The empathy of the media and the prosecutors was reserved for the black homeless victim. While the people he had been terrorizing in the moments before his death were written off as wimps and fools. We have a real-life example of this in St. Louis when Tashara Jones took office and Cori Bush, remember Black Woman Magic with Kim Gardner as well? The first thing they did was go to the workhouse and visit the prisoners. They didn't care about the victims of crime, right?
Yeah.
So she says rarely has this concept been illustrated so perfectly as in a recent New York Post interview. And this is when she gets into the 23-year-old who refused to cooperate with prosecutors after she was violently attacked because she said, a part of me was just like, I don't want to put another black man in jail. Now, Kat writes, to her credit, that statement was part of a larger expression of regret about that choice. And we know now that the man who attacked her murdered a 76-year-old retired teacher, pushing him down a set of subway stairs to his death. And now the young woman wishes she had pressed charges. Well, it's too long. It's too late. You can't do that anymore. And I think that the lesson here is, look, the suicidally empathetic gravitate toward not just vaguely racist, but romantic self-flattering. A story where danger is neutralized and savagery is redeemed, be it by a loving family or a kind-hearted liberal. A story that feels good to tell, even better to believe in. It's also, unfortunately, the kind of story that tends to end in tragedy, and that's what happened here. And we know it's the storyteller himself that pays the price in blood. So I love this column because I thought it was very effective. I didn't see that the chimpanzee angle was going to play a role, but that was horrifying. But she's right about that. I think we do have examples of that in society, and it's frightening. It really is. And by the way, I think we have judges, and you didn't get into that. We have judges and prosecutors, certainly, that play into that, unfortunately. All right, we got Kilmeade coming up here in a couple of minutes. After that, Tim Fitch. We will talk about some of the crime issues and this suit against the police board. We have Sue gave me a great story yesterday, and I meant to go into Lowe's today to take a picture of the most items that are stolen. But we'll do this at 4:04. It's interesting because Home Depot and both Lowe's, and I think this is going to go beyond them, too, from reading the story. They're putting LPRs, license plate readers, in their parking lots to try to crack down on some of the shoplifting, and it's really interesting. Now, it's also, privacy issues involved there. So we'll get into that as well. It's all coming up.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We've got some volume on the Missouri side. There was an accident westbound 70 past 170. That's on the left shoulder. Westbound 70 is pretty good out of downtown. A little slow at Wentzville. Just moderate volume at this hour on westbound 64. That's approaching Hampton out through McCausland, and again at 270. And then again, Lake St. Louis Boulevard out through, looks like the 70 split. On the Illinois side, a jam eastbound 64 headed for 157, but we look fine on the bridges downtown. And back on the Missouri side, southbound 270, moderate volume from Page to about the Clayton Road overpass, but northbound lines up headed for Ladue Road in that lane split. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Call them for their 26-point tune-up. It's one price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Always look for the genuine original red ribbon of Overhead Door Company. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
You know, so since the cameras are placed differently here, we're in the temporary studio. Sue, you should look at you. You look fantastic on the camera. It's like a much better picture than we get down there, which, by the way, I think that some of that might, be fixed when we get the new mic on. Well, because if you think about our stream, we don't have the best visuals because the mic arms are in the way. So I'm hoping that works itself out just a little bit. And by the way, it looks great. So if you haven't seen the stream today, check out Sue. She's a winter, by the way, in case you didn't know that. Susan L. Ward is also a good friend of the program, and she's a great sponsor of 97.1 FM Talk. She's a family practice attorney, and she's done this exclusively for nearly a quarter of a decade now. And they really use a client-centered approach designed to make sure that you're protected and that your needs and goals are met. And they take great pride in what they do. They have a very strong attorney-client relationship based on trust. How do you know that Susan's right for you? Well, she'll tell you, interview her like I would interview a guest here on the radio. Find out if you have, a little bit of a chemistry with her, because if you don't feel comfortable, then you're going to want to find someone else. But she's great at what she does. She has a very vivacious personality. She's tough when she needs to be. And they have a great reputation here in St. Louis. So if you need Susan's help, and it could be for, the end of a marriage, could be for things that happen post-divorce, you can call 314-783-9400. The website, stlfamilylaw.com. Susan L. Ward, the focus on family law, and the emphasis on you.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
What if every time you spent money, you saved money too? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can do just that. Every debit card purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar, and the spare change goes right into your savings. And here's the best part. Together Credit Union boosts your progress by matching qualifying savings up to $8 a month. It's a free checking account that helps you achieve more automatically. Learn more, or better yet, enroll today at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union. Federally insured by NCUA.
Mark Cox here. Bring your home back to life with Zero Res. Get 3 rooms of carpet clean right now, starting at just $139, and whole home air duct cleaning starting at just $599. Visit ZeroResSTL.com and tell them 97.1 sent you.
The summer heat and humidity will be here soon. Is your air conditioner ready? This is Corey with Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. If your cooling system hasn't been checked to be ready for the warm weather, call Air Comfort Service. AC checks keep your equipment operating at maximum efficiency, prevent repairs, and extend the life of your equipment. For every AC clean and check booked in April, we'll donate a bag of pet food to Open Door Animal Sanctuary in House Springs. Stay in your comfort zone with a cooling system check from Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Visit aircomfortservice.com. That's aircomfortservice.com.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
Mark Reardon, Sue Thomas. This is the Mark Reardon Show.
You heard Brian Kilmeade on the radio this morning. You saw him on TV as well. He actually had a chance to speak with the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
It's Police Week, Police Night. It's big night. Time to salute the men and women in uniform. I feel it's like the tide has turned in our country until the whole defund and abolish ICE movement.
Democrats have demonized law enforcement, and it's led to all sorts of problems in more dangerous communities. Now, I'm proud to tell you, Republicans always back the blue. We always stand with law enforcement. We had 111 fallen law enforcement officers in the line of duty this past year, and it's a tragedy. We're going to stand as best we can to make sure they have the proper funding and support to stand up for those who stand up for the rest of us.
Brian is with us this afternoon. Great conversation with the speaker there. Look, St. Louis is certainly no stranger to some of these issues with violence and unfortunately losing cops as well. And we haven't had all the support for law enforcement, Brian, in St. Louis. We're trying to change that right now, really. So how are you this afternoon?
All good, Mark.
What was the rest of that conversation with the speaker like? Did you touch on some of the issues from Capitol Hill?
I mean, first off, talk about inflation. 3.4%, not good news. He's like, it's not, but they believe it's temporary. Most of it's driven by energy, and we know what's going on with the war. Also, when it came to Taiwan, how do you feel about the president? I don't know how, tied he is to Taiwan. He says he certainly is going to, sign that $14 billion check or cash it because the Taiwanese are paying for weapons from us. We've got to make that place a porcupine. And I talked about the left wing of the party's ascendant, the left wing of the left party, the Democratic Party, that Bernie Sanders is the most powerful person on the left. And he's been putting a mayor in Seattle, a mayor in New York. He's got a candidate over that's going to win the nomination over in Maine. We know he's got another candidate over in Michigan. What do they have in common? Extreme socialists, seem very anti-American, anti-Semitic in my view, certainly anti-Israeli, and extreme. And that's not really that I thought was Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. I don't consider them moderates, but I consider them liberals.
Right.
The heat but then the energy and the money in that party is all to the extreme left, and that has put the House in play. And the speaker firmly believes that, let alone the gerrymandering.
So on that front with the redistricting, because we had our Supreme Court in Missouri yesterday upheld this new map. There's still a little confusion about whether it's going to kick in. We had a story today, for example, that's really confusing about we have an August primary, so will the maps actually be in effect? There's some questions because there's another group that's trying to stop it and get, a ballot measure going. But what did he say? Because, at this point, obviously this was a battle between the White House and the Democrats. The Virginia map gets tossed out. The changes here, which favor Republicans, are staying in place. I know Florida and Tennessee have got some changes as well. So in the end, I don't know the Democrats will be that far ahead of Republicans overall in any of the math count.
I don't think they were going to be ahead at all. I mean, in terms of if they're going to be in the deficit. And now, South Carolina map, the governor just announced, I think 45 minutes ago, that even though it means boxing out a congressional Democratic legend in James Clyburn, he's going to go ahead and redraw the map, and he'll probably just erase his district. So, I mean, he's already 90-something years old. It's about time to retire, but still, that people wanted to stay away from that it might get people angry and maybe take it out on the Republicans that are left. We know even in South Carolina, among the urban locations, they tend to lean left. So, and they're getting a lot of New Yorkers there who've been chased out of New York because of the high taxes and this mayor and whatever. South Carolina is the fastest growing state in the country. So that's where we redrawn. We're waiting on Mississippi, Missouri. Are they going to be withdrawn? We know Louisiana is going to be redrawn. Alabama is going to be redrawn. And Tennessee is going to be redrawn. I mean, you're going to get two seats. That'll add up.
No, I think it adds up. It just doesn't counter everything else that's going on with the economy and what people are thinking in November. Brian Kilmeade back with us this afternoon. What are your expectations for this China summit? Look, President Trump has spoken very fondly of his, relationship with President Xi. I think he kind of relishes a moment like this. He doesn't seem like he's ever intimidated by anyone, but there are some serious things to talk about here in this summit, in this meeting. Expectations, Brian.
I'm just reading, getting caught up because I'm hosting a Laura Ingraham show tonight, and we say, okay, what did I miss? I've been out for 2 hours. And one of the things is I'm seeing this theme, shrinking summit, not nearly as important. I think it's just the opposite. I really do, because they had a great display of our military that's been in pause right now. And I think when this summit ends, if nothing changes, I think the weak president goes back in and finishes them off. And I think that also the president's also made it pretty clear since they last met, he wants China's influence out of our hemisphere. And he's going, and I don't have to tell you about Argentina and Bolivia and Mexico, and probably the biggest one is going to be coming across Venezuela and then Cuba. So that these are all places where the influence of China is being pushed back kind of on Canal. We know that. So I think there's a lot to deal with here. I just don't understand a couple of things. I've never run a major bank or a corporation, but I don't want them in China. Now, the president says, I want access to that market. I don't really want access to that market because what happens is they take our intellectual property. I mean, look at Tesla. There would be no BYD car if it wasn't for Tesla being built in China. We don't know that when Apple gets built and manufactured in China, they have everything that they need now. They're more powerful than the Apple itself in San Francisco because they're the only ones who can build the thing. China can't, India can't even do it. So I don't know why we want more of that. I'm for decoupling.
Yeah, well, and I can understand that completely. How critical do you think? Because I think the next 2 weeks in this situation with Iran are very pivotal. It doesn't seem like we're going to get any diplomacy out of this. I mean, at a certain point, you're going to have to finish the job. I don't know what the definition of finishing the job is. And if you listen to what Bibi said on 60 Minutes, obviously, I think they have the ability to go in and get the highly enriched uranium if special forces get involved. It seemed to me like Israel knows where they are. But what's the next step? Because the ceasefire is supposedly still in place. We're in a bit of a stalemate right now, aren't we?
Yeah, I think we are. I also, that report at CBS saying that Pakistan's letting Iran hide their planes in Pakistan, that eliminates them as a broker. So I don't know where we're at because they were supposed to be the voice of reason, which is always crazy considering that's where bin Laden was and where the Taliban and al-Qaeda want to reset and attack us in Afghanistan. So that's always really, raised my eyebrows that we were there. But evidently the military relationship with the president is good. The military leader there is good. And that's why ever since he ended the conflict with India. So I'm worried about that. I'm also, I had a guest on today to tell me, confirm the story that we gave weapons to the Kurds to give to the Iranian people, and they kept them. Turns out we gave them to the wrong group of Kurds. But and I also talked to the CEO of J.P. Morgan, under Jamie Dimon, who's getting pretty good reports that we're going back in. There's going to be a new name to the operation, and we're going to finish them off. And if China thinks that and knows that, since they listen to everything, don't they want a chance to be heroes and pick up the phone, tell Iran to reopen the strait because they have total control of that country, and go with and find a way to hand off the uranium to the Russians, and then take 30 days to work out a nuclear deal? I mean, Trump would probably take that if the strait wide opens up and you get some of those 1,500 ships passing through, and the rest of the world would react. Would China miss that opportunity and just let it sit? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Art of the deal is going to be in play for sure. Did you catch any of the testimony? I have some audio that I'm going to play that's pretty good of the whistleblower from COVID, James Erdman III, who testified before the Senate Homeland Security Committee. And obviously a lot more questions about Dr. Fauci. Rand Paul has pushed that for a long time. But this was an interesting hearing today.
I was reading closed caption while I was hosting, and it looked very explosive. But you know who was missing? Any Democrat, which is nuts. Because didn't Democrats die of COVID? Weren't we lied to about where it started?
Yeah, why is it a partisan issue? Shouldn't be a partisan issue.
Know. Because they like Anthony Fauci, I guess. But Fauci is corrupt as the day is long. And he thought he was going to be able to cover his tracks. And this guy came out and said, absolutely not. We knew it was a lab leak, and they told us to change it. Fauci had his friends who he paid money to prior to this pandemic. They were his experts that he leaned on.
Yeah, it's awful, and I hope it gets exposed, and I hope it keeps getting exposed for sure. You mentioned you're hosting Laura's show tonight. What do you got planned for that?
Well, we're going to open up with China, and we're going to have Gordon Chang, no doubt about it. We're going to have Michelle. Where is it? Where is the rundown? So we're going to have a big show. We got Jimmy Fail is going to be on again, and we're also going to have Raymond. I know that for sure. And they're still working out a lot of the lineup because we're waiting for some type of information. We're waiting for some type of information from China. Marsha Blackburn's going to be on with us. We're going to have Katie Zachariah, and we're going to be talking about the experience versus common sense. Republicans have smartly forgot, instead of saying, hey, let's take on the Democrats, they're just saying that the common sense party. And that's going to be the buzz leading up to this next 6 months because they feel the stuff they're saying is obvious. It's common sense. You don't put boys in women's sports, and obviously you don't build homes for drug addicts and say that's all homeless. I think it's the Spencer Pratt way of approaching things. I think that's going to be their new theme. I don't know if you know it, but if you see Javier Becerra, if you played that clip again, this guy is the Democratic frontrunner in California. Where's his common sense? He tells somebody before an interview, I want this to be more of a profile piece.
I have that. I did not play. Yeah, I'm going to play it today because I had the audio yesterday and I did not play it. It's unbelievable. It really is. But, you can't make this stuff up about the politicians. You got anything set for Sunday, or are you just concentrating, obviously, on tonight? You got to get past tonight's show, right?
No, well, Sunday we look pretty good. Michael Schellenberger is going to be with us.
Awesome.
You know that for sure. God Sad is going to be here. He's got the best line ever, suicidal empathy.
All right, so I had never heard that. Sorry to interrupt you, but I just read this column by Kat Rosenfeld at the Free Press that, talked about suicidal empathy, but I'd never heard of that. I didn't know, that was something that someone had written a book about. So I'm fascinated by that.
It makes sense, right?
Yes, it does make sense. We're seeing like with the, the United Healthcare killer. Anyway, I cut you off. What else you got planned?
Well, I mean, we're also going to have Carly Shimkus going to review the media, and Tom Cotton is going to be on with us on Sunday. So it's going to be an interesting show, and I look forward to ironing it out, but staying flexible because I don't know when Iran's heating up again. I'm not sure what's going to emerge from China, but I do want to be flexible to be able to handle it.
I think that show could change quite a bit between now and then. Let's also remind folks that Brian's coming back to the factory here November 21st. It's going to be awesome. Saturday night in November. It's going to be great just before the holidays. Brian, have a great week, and we'll talk next week.
Mark, by the way, this is how powerful your show is. After you mentioned it last week, I think you sold about 75 tickets.
Good. I'm glad.
Even though we're a few months out.
We've been promoting it. We're going to sell it out. You know that. We can't wait to have you back. All right, take care. We'll see you.
Thanks.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Sorry. Yeah, our commute right now is not bad. So if you're just headed out, it's mainly moderate volume. And if you happen to be a driver on westbound 70, it looks pretty good. We look great. Now, it's a little slow at Lindbergh, but it's just moderate volume. Oh, shoot. Well, now we've got an accident past Highway K, so there's a jam behind that. Little bit of volume at Wentzville. Now, westbound 64. It's Kings Highway out through McCausland, but it's moderate volume. Same thing at 270, and then out west at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Now, southbound 270 is still moderate volume, but it's approaching Olive to Doherty Ferry. Northbound jams at Ladue Road. Southbound 170 slow, ramping on to 64. Well, we've got an accident now, eastbound 270 approaching the Canal Bridge, and there is a parking lot jam back past Riverview. Also on the Illinois side, 64 eastbound jams headed for 157, but we're fine on the Poplar Street Bridge. This report brought to you by Point with an E Pest Control. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Call Point Pest Control, mention Annie, and get 10% off your pest problem. Once summertime hits, ant populations begin to reach peak numbers, maybe even into the millions. Call Point Pest Control before they invade your home. Call Point Pest Control 636-798-0023.
This is Congressman Bob Onder. Americans demanded border security, and House Republicans delivered. According to the Department of Homeland Security, for 10 consecutive months, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has reported 0 illegal aliens released at the border. I'm proud to have worked with the Trump administration to secure our southern border and uphold our immigration laws, and will keep fighting to advance strong policies that protect Missourians and keep America safe.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Tired of the turbulence in the stock market? Maybe it's time for a change. Tune into the Crest Report every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon and learn more about precious metals. That's Golden Crest Metals. GoldenCrestMetals.com.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Norm Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at CrawfordButts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's CrawfordButts.com.
license number GL250000615.
We've seen all kinds of clogs, so remember the rule. Only flush 3 things. Number 1, number 2, and toilet paper.
What about my dinosaurs?
No?
My monster truck?
Nope.
What about...
If it's not the big 3, don't flush it.
But if someone does flush a dinosaur...
Call Grasser. We clear the clog and get things moving again.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeservices.com.
Hey, Stewie, I need some cash. I need money. Who doesn't need money? What can you do for me?
You know, and Annie, this is a question people ask all the time. Now, pay attention because this is important. Don't get a home equity line of credit. A home equity line of credit is a credit card in your house. It's typically not a fixed rate, so it's an adjustable. You pay interest only. And there's a short-term opportunity to take the money out, and then later on, it turns into a loan that's a really high interest rate. Cash out refinance. That's the most important thing. Refinance your entire mortgage. Get the best rate that's out there. Give yourself the opportunity to refinance later when the rates drop. A cash out refinance is a little bit higher of a rate than a rate and term refinance. Do the cash out now, set yourself up for the future, and get the best deal out there. Just do me one favor. Don't tell my wife about this because she's going to want all the cash in the world to buy a new car.
Well, if you want to know more, Google the Bagel Loan to find out more information or call my friend Stewie, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Google the Bagel Loan for more information. NMLS number 226715.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. From Festus to Freeburg, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So not unlike on the radio, I shoot my mouth off a lot on the X, formerly Twitter, when I have opinions about things. Sometimes that gets me into trouble. Sometimes it doesn't. I find this interesting, though. Yesterday I saw this story, and this was when I was getting ready for the Tuesday show. There was a story in STL Today. Mayor fires at St. Louis Police Board over budget suit, a move to decimate our city. And I read that story, and I'm like, oh, that's great. We have a new police board because the city couldn't get their act together, and they're not being properly funded, so they actually have to sue the city. And the mayor, who desperately needs public safety to become, something that really kind of improves in her city, decides to not support cops and public safety again. So my tweet yesterday said, I've got bad news for Kara Spencer. The city is already beyond decimated. She says this is going to decimate the city. That made me spit Diet Coke out of my nose. But yeah, fight against more money for cops and public safety seems about right for St. Louis. Just put in more stupid bump outs in the street. That will bring down crime. There is zero hope for downtown. Zero. Now, I got a lot of activity on that, a lot of reaction on Twitter. Most of it, 98% of it, was in support. There were a couple of people out there that took Kara's side, but believe me, not many. Former St. Louis County Police Chief Tim Fitch is here. I'm just so exhausted talking about this, Chief. I really am. It's just unbelievable. We have to have the same conversations over and over again and not focus on more cops downtown.
Right. When will these elected officials figure out that public safety is the foundation of economic stability? When will they figure that out? Law enforcement is an investment in your community, and the fact that she wants to fight this, she's got to understand that underfunding law enforcement doesn't save money; it just shifts the bill to the victims and businesses and other government systems.
Well, yeah, and so I don't understand why. Now, we thought maybe she'd be different on this front. She's saying that because they want the $67 million that they kind of need right now, that's going to pull from other areas of the budget that are going to decimate the city. I mean, first of all, that's hyperbolic in and of itself and just ridiculous, especially considering the state of the city. But why fight this? Because you're a progressive? Because the Board of Aldermen doesn't support this? It makes no sense to me.
I don't think she gets it is the problem. I think if she understood that if you had a safe downtown and a safe city of St. Louis, all these economic things that you need to grow are going to come back. She hasn't figured that one out yet.
Do you think she will? Because now I'm losing faith and confidence. I really thought some things would be different. But after, something like this in a battle that has to go where the lawyers make more money, I don't have as much confidence.
Yeah, I think the progressives are in her ear. And she's listening to them instead of understanding. And I think I like the mayor, too. When she started in her role, I was quite happy that she got elected and then the old administration was out. But She's going right down that same path and trying to fight everything that's going to help her with this economic stability that she so badly desires.
Well, and, when you come up, and we talked about this last week, when you come up with a plan to, use this Rams money and you want to spend it on tornado relief, which certainly is a desperate need in North City. I think we know that infrastructure repairs certainly are as well. The downtown revitalization efforts, let's focus on that, because you cannot, to your point, you can't start the downtown revitalization without addressing the downtown public safety issues. So I'm with her on tornado and infrastructure, but some of this other stuff is nonsense without prioritizing law enforcement.
That's right. I mean, it's proven over and over that communities with lower crime rates really do attract more business, retain their current residents, and they really support stable property values. And at some point, she's going to have to flip this and go, okay, I get it. Let's do it. And if she doesn't, then probably somebody else right behind her will come in and think more like Tashara, where you defund the police. That's how we got here. That's how we got to this. They were not investing in law enforcement in the community.
So did you see, this is a little bit of a nuance of this, too. So Chris Grayville is the attorney that is representing the board. And, Grayville writes, the city intends to divert this money without consideration of its statutorily required use of public safety to fund the various desires of the current elected officials of the city. And so the mayor actually says, Attorney Grayville's claims that the city's reserves and the Rams settlement funds constitute current revenue is absurd. It's so removed from reality that it's even hard to respond. Help me out with that quote. I don't even understand what she said. What's absurd is her analogy and not understanding that we have money that's in the coffers that could be properly allocated to some of the things that we've been screaming about for a decade now.
Yeah, she's. I hope she figures it out, because for the health of the region, she has to figure this out. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we will. All right, Chief. Thanks for weighing in this afternoon.
All right, take care.
We have a situation where state law gives the city a week to officially respond to the suit and up to 10 days for a judge to hear arguments. So here again, we have a situation where we're just going back and forth in the courts. It's unfortunate that the police board has to sue the city in this, because I think that they're just asking for the money that's supposed to come to them. But how this mayor doesn't understand this is really, you can't tell me that, let's say, for a moment, for argument's sake, let's say that there's a legitimate beef between whether or not this money should be allocated, the $67 million or not, and they can't come to an agreement. I guess the only resolution for that in municipalities or government is a lawsuit. But is there ever a possibility? She's complaining because the meeting that was called on Monday, she claims was illegal. All right,
illegal.
Yeah, that she did not. That they were not notified properly. Let's see if I can find this.
What does that
this is
mean?
Funny too.
Oh, like you're supposed to say in this many days.
Yeah, she's complaining about that, that they did this. And here it is. Spencer said the board authorized the lawsuit during a Monday meeting that was called in violation of the board's bylaws. So that's just dumb. First of all, why wouldn't you want to address this issue as soon as possible?
Yes.
That's the thing. She's not focusing on the right things here. So my point was going to be, why did this, considering the state of this city, considering the new leadership, considering public safety has been an issue for a decade, why can't you have conversations and actually work this out? They're not able to, right?
No.
They're never able to, because there's disagreement. And she apparently feels like she has to sign on the progressive side that hates the cops and focus on bump outs and stuff like that. So how do you get to a solution when this is just going to go to a court and then another court, and the lawyers are going to say this and the city's going to say this, and all the people that are going to, I had a message from somebody today on X, formerly Twitter, said, look, I don't take my family downtown because I don't think it's safe. I can make a case that there's plenty of times that the city is safe. And in the immediate area around Busch Stadium, I would say it's safe. There's a lot of police presence. But outside of that, I understand what people are saying. But why the mayor doesn't get that? Why she doesn't get that this downtown revitalization, all this crap.
It starts with safety.
It's beyond frustrating.
It is.
To keep having to talk about it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
On the roads, we've got a jam. I just put it up on X at Susan6768. There's an accident eastbound 270 between the Canal and Chain of Rocks bridges, and we have a parking lot jam back on the Missouri side, back through Lilac. Southbound 270 slowing at 70. We've got a pretty good jam going on. Southbound 170 headed for 64. Westbound 40 lines up Kings Highway out through McCausland. Lindbergh out through 270, and then again on either side of Lake St. Louis Boulevard. It's mostly moderate volume on southbound 270 between Page and Doherty Ferry, but northbound slows headed for Ladue Road as well. And if you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the Poplar, but 70 eastbound slows approaching 64, 64 eastbound jams approaching 157. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Let's talk about real estate here in St. Louis, and it's always a tricky time, and there's a lot of people that are afraid of the market. They wonder if they can get top dollar. I want you to focus on a great team to help you. That's Mark and Neil Gelman, the Gelman team of eXp Realty. They have options for you, whether it's buying or selling. For example, an instant cash offer without the hidden fees. You can also, on their website at thegelmanteam.com, find out what your home is really worth for free, and it only takes about 30 seconds to a minute. They give you a price that will kick it right back to you. If you need the Gelman's help, they can absolutely crank up the marketing, create demand, and multiple offers. Now, the multiple offers is not just a given these days. You have to do some things to make sure that the house is ready. Buyers want move-in ready. They don't want to have to spend money and then have to go in the aftermath and spend a bunch more money, especially because of rates. So call the Gelman team or go to thegelmanteam.com. Find out what your home is really worth. If you need their help, you're anxious about how do I sell my home and make sure I don't have to, do a double move, moving into the next house. That's why you hire a professional. That's why you can't do this with AI. These professionals, they know the market. They're trained. They can absolutely give you the best advice in every situation. The Gelman team with eXp Realty. Check them out today at thegelmanteam.com.
Never miss a beat. Take 97.1 FM Talk with you. The voices you trust, Mark Cox, Annie Fry, Mark Reardon, Scott Jennings, and more are just a tap away with the Odyssey app. Stream 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
We all know spring weather means spring storms. Mark Cox here for Hanson's Tree Service. Now's the time to remove any dead or hazardous trees over your home before the spring storms bring them down. It's a great time to have an arborist come out and put together a plant health care program for your trees and shrubs. You can also order mulch and compost directly from the website and have it delivered to your driveway. Just go to hansonstree.com. Again, that's hansonstree.com. It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
Don't let tax refund worries hold you back. File now with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They'll find every credit and deduction to help you get every refund dollar you deserve, or your money back. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I want to play a little audio here, and Brian Kilmeade referred to this Xavier Becerra cut. So this is crazy, and I guess this is where elected officials think that they can live in the current world of media because, usually, and I've done a lot of interviews before, Sue, you know this, sometimes people try to put conditions down, right? Don't ask about this,
Yes.
Don't ask about that. Now, I typically don't play those games at all. Here's where the only time I agree to that is, and this has happened a lot in Hollywood, okay?
Yeah.
And I get it, where you're interviewing someone on a junket for a movie or something like that, and they may have a personal thing or a dating thing. I mean, that's
They don't
really
wanna
none of my
discuss.
business anyway.
Right.
So I don't ever throw a red flag on that. But you do have situations where people in big positions will they'll send something to Fred saying, "Hey, will you let us know all the questions?" We're like, no. You need to be prepared to answer the questions. That's kind of how this works. So here's one of the front runners for the governor of California. There's a mayor's race also, and this is his conditions here.
By the way, this is a profile piece. This is not a gotcha piece, right?
Well, look, I think these questions are fair. It's in order to learn about you as a candidate.
So long as it's about the profile.
I don't know how you define profile, but I'd like to begin the interview.
The way I describe profile is you talk about all the things that I've done, things I want to do, and along with some tough questions. But not only tough questions.
So he was the former head of Health and Human Services during the Biden administration. I don't think he's been elected to any position, but that's pretty interesting. He feels like he could just lay down the rules and say, okay, we're going to only talk about, positive things that make me look good in this report. Props to the reporter there for, seemingly not backing down. And I don't know what happened with the rest of that interview. Now let me take you to Chicago. And sadly, this is very, relatable to St. Louis because we've had these street takeovers. Sue, you had one in Holly Hills before you moved out of that neighborhood last year. We've had a few more even recently. And this goes back to the lack of policing. The cops are outmanned and, they can't get control of the situations. Well, this has happened in Chicago as well. So this is from a TV report up there because what's happened is they've had these situations get out of control as well. And they had last week this kid who rammed a cop car and was arrested. But just listen to some of the coverage here on this takeover.
You see a car hitting and ramming a Chicago police car down Columbus, and we confirmed with Chicago police a 19-year-old named Maximus Wyderski from Crestwood was taken into custody. Police said he was the one driving the car, was cited for reckless driving, fleeing, attempted to elude, and 9 car citations, including 2 fireworks and having open containers. We also confirmed with 10th Ward Alderman Peter Chico there was another street takeover that happened Friday night in Hegwish. So in that video, you see people wearing masks and banging on the hood of a police car as it's moving, and you even see one person recording themselves as they're doing this. This is certainly getting a lot of attention from lawmakers, including Illinois Comptroller Susana Mendoza and 15th Ward Alderman Raymond Lopez, who said everyone who was involved in these street takeovers should be arrested, and every car that was involved needs to be impounded.
Yeah, you think Brandon Johnson agrees with that? He's quiet, of course, and, you've had 2 of these incidents. Now, the one where the cop car was rammed, that goes back a few weeks, and there is stunning footage of that because the police car rolls up on this scene. The 19-year-old kid slams into it, pushes it out of the way as other teens continue with the street takeover. So, fortunate no one was shot, no one was hurt in that situation, but that is something that is growing in Chicago. And it's growing here too because, again, the kids know that the cops, they can be one step ahead of the cops, right? Maximum Wyderski, that's an interesting name for an offender, isn't it?
Yes.
Maximum, who's 19 years old, he says he didn't do it, okay? You see the car that's ramming the car, the cop car, and you see some people dressed in black with their faces covered, and some people are hitting the car as it's moving. They're smashing things into the car. Some of them are just flipping off the officers. Others are just holding up their phones and they're recording it, and they're trying to get some of the videos of that. But Wyderski says that he was watching the street takeover, not participating when his car battery died. While trying to wave down police for help, he said an officer accused him of being involved. He denied being the driver of the car, ramming a police vehicle. The second cop, and by the way, he might be telling the truth on that. I mean, I don't know. He goes, the second cop, he pulls right behind me, gets out of his car and tells me to get the F out, put my hands up, and then he arrests me. And he said that I was part of an alleged street takeover, and then he charged me with all that. So, the guy, he may be innocent, and that's not really the point of the story, but you would have a dash cam that would get a good look at the car, and there's some other videos, but that's not the problem. The problem is Brandon Johnson, and you have a socialist mayor like New York, unfortunately like St. Louis now, that has made his hostility toward law enforcement one of the key tenets of his administration, right?
Yeah.
He actually last September declared that law enforcement is a sickness. He promised to, he promised to eradicate it, as well as any consequences for law breaking in his domain. These people are disgusting. Here is Alderman Raymond Lopez in Chicago.
I'm very much concerned that only one person was arrested. In a sea of stupidity, we only caught one criminal fish I find that hard to believe because everyone there is breaking the law. Everyone there is contributing to the minors there who are breaking the law, and all of them are putting each other's lives at risk. There are municipal codes on the books now for all of those behaviors that we could have cited any one of them for, but that just tells me that either A, we didn't have the manpower to do it, or we didn't have the willingness to do it.
Where was it? Was it D.C. a couple weeks ago? Who had the someone put a curfew in effect? I can't remember.
Oh, I
where
can't
that
remember
was.
where
But
that
look,
was.
as long as Brandon Johnson's mayor, nothing's going to change up there, right?
Nope.
The police, there is a way to kind of fix this, right? You make it known that you're not going to let teenagers take over your streets, and you're going to make arrests, and people are going to have consequences. But that's not what they're interested in. They're interested in social workers and letting this get out of control. There has never been, I had a little hope for Lori Lightfoot when she was mayor of Chicago because she was a former prosecutor.
Nothing.
Think about here too. We're in this pattern. Lyda Crewson sucked, would not address, did not have the guts, even though her own husband was murdered.
Yes.
That's what makes it even more stunning. She didn't have the guts. Tashara hated the cops, so we know that. I mean, that was a given. We knew that she was never going to favor public safety because that's her base. But Kara is more confusing to me because she seemingly cares about the city, but she doesn't care about the cops making the city more safe. But Chicago is a disaster too now.
No, it absolutely is. And that story that you had about the woman who did not turn somebody in, right? She didn't prosecute.
That was in New York.
In New York, where someone was then killed. That's who's voting these people in.
Right. In her story, now she, to her credit, again, and Kat wrote about this when I read that piece from the Free Press, to her credit, she has now expressed deep regret about that, right?
Well, look what had to happen before that
I hope
occurred.
that people hear her story.
Yes.
Right? Because this whole, suicidal empathy thing is real, and I don't get it. I really don't, especially when it comes to, we're talking about violent criminals here.
Violent crime.
It's not that tough.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident on westbound 70 past Highway K. They've got the left lane blocked. Traffic is really jammed behind that. And we also have an accident eastbound 270 approaching the Canal Bridge. Traffic is jammed back across the Chain of Rocks Bridge to Lilac. So if you are headed into Illinois, you may want to drop down to downtown. Downtown is fine. Now, there's some volume eastbound 70 at 64, but the Poplar Street Bridge is in great shape, no problems, at least eastbound on the McKinley Bridge. Now, on the Illinois side, eastbound, traffic on 64 jams at 157, but we've got the usual volume on the Missouri side, approaching Hampton out through McCausland on 40, Lindbergh through 270, and at Lake St. Louis Boulevard. 70, don't forget about that accident at K. It's caused a massive delay. Southbound 55 is in good shape. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, I've gotten to know Matt Lawrence from Game Day Men's Health, and I want to tell you about his clinic. And he's got two now. He's got one in Chesterfield, and he has taken over the location in O'Fallon, which is great because he is much better to take over that location, I think. But look, Matt is a great guy. He's got a great clinic. Game Day Men's Health is something that is growing across the country. There are more than 400 clinics nationwide now, and that includes all North America. So some of it is in Canada as well. But guys, they're still offering you, and let's face it, there are other options. There are alternatives. There are competitors when it comes to whether it's testosterone replacement therapy or any of these other things that I'm going to talk about. But there's a difference, and we call it the Game Day difference, and that's because it's a very private clinic. It's got on-site lab testing. They have their own pharmacy at Game Day. For nothing, you can go in, get a free test. Blood work will be back in 20 minutes. They'll come back with a plan for you, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. And it's very, very simple, personalized treatment plan. You can do some of the medicine at home if you want to, and you can begin the treatment the same day. So make that appointment. Take advantage. They pride themselves on the 1-hour visit because they don't want you to have to, take a day off of work or a half day off work. They call it a men's health clinic built for every journey. So TRT, peptides and vitamins, medical weight loss, sports injury recovery. They do sexual wellness at ED. A lot at GameDayMen'sHealth.com in Chesterfield and in O'Fallon.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit ThrottleNet.com/ call1-888-971 to take the free assessment today.
Everyone needs to have at least one person in their corner in life. When you don't, it's an extremely lonely and frightening place to be. But knowing you have that one person gives you peace and hope. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Since 1988, myself and my firm have been in so many corners for so many clients for so many years. We became the largest injury firm in the world for a reason, and it's not even close. We fought like hell for you. We fight the bullies, automobile insurance companies, the makers of unsafe products, medical providers who injured or killed their own patients. It has been such an honor and made my life complete. If you ever need us, it's easy. On your mobile device or computer, visit forthepeople.com, and then we get to work 24/7. Whether you're hurt in a car crash, injured on the job, or have questions about your Social Security, we're here for you. Morgan & Morgan, for the people.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
A common question I receive is, how is the market right now? It just seems so volatile. Hi, I'm Christina Straight, owner of Straight Realty. If you want to buy or sell but feel overwhelmed by the whiplash of the market, then let's talk. With over 23 years as a broker, I have the exact experience you need to help you navigate this tricky market. Call me at 314-441-4444. 314-441-all-4s. And remember, why pay more than two?
Commissions are not regulated and are negotiable. Straight Realty is a licensed broker in the state of Missouri.
Wednesday edition of Sue's News on tap. Also, why are Lowe's and Home Depot installing license plate readers in their parking lots? We're going to cover that and more. It's all coming up.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Get down to business in Beijing. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Later tonight, U.S. time, President Trump begins a summit with China's president.
President Trump still hasn't seen President Xi yet. That is going to happen a few hours from right now during an official state welcome ceremony for President Trump at the Great Hall of the People.
Fox's Peter Ducey in Beijing. Multiple U.S. business leaders are with the president, who says he'll ask President Xi to open up China. He also expects a long conversation about Iran, which had been selling most of its oil to China. On Capitol Hill, the Senate confirming Trump nominee Kevin Warsh to be the new Fed chair. A federal crackdown on healthcare fraud ramps up.
We're trying to save the Medicaid program from dysfunctional state bureaucrats.
Vice President J.D. Vance, who's leading a fraud task force, says taxpayers and Medicaid recipients are being cheated by fraudsters, and states are being warned they could lose federal money for fraud investigations if they don't get serious about prosecutions.
$1.3 billion in Medicare reimbursements are now being diverted from the state of California. Now, just in the L.A. area, mostly the LA area, 800 hospices have been suspended. They say less than 20 of them have called to complain about being suspended. CMS Administrator Dr. Oz also making a big announcement that no new hospice or home health providers can enroll in Medicare until they root out some of the bad actors who are committing this fraud across the country.
Fox Business's Connor Hansen in D.C. A Utah woman who published a children's book about grief after killing her husband, just sentenced to life in prison. Corey Richens was convicted in March of aggravated murder for lacing her husband's cocktail with 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl, also convicted of other felonies for trying to poison him weeks earlier on Valentine's Day. Prosecutors say she was millions in debt and planning a future with another man after opening numerous life insurance policies, his sister now caring for the couple's sons. America's listening to Fox News.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolade spells powerful relief.
Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Sunshine and nice temperatures going through our Wednesday afternoon. It's slightly cooler compared to yesterday. 75 for the high. Tonight, clear skies, upper 60s. Cool overnight, 51. Thursday, plenty of sunshine, 76. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, a mix of clouds and sunshine each day, bringing a couple of showers, but a lot of dry time, too. However, it's warmer, near 90. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, well, we're trying to get through the week here. We are at the midway point. A lot of times on Wednesdays, we are visited by our friend Alex Rich. He's not here today. We're going to cover some other things throughout the hour, including our friend Curtis Houck from the Media Research Center at the bottom of the hour. But, Sue, you're going to love this. I love political, gossip stories and things like that. So I'm sitting here during the break, and there was something up at the end of the Will Kane show about Brigitte Macron. That is the wife of French President Emmanuel Macron. Remember what happened a few months ago when they were getting off the plane? It was a foreign trip, and it was very uncomfortable because you could see Brigitte kind of slap his hand, right? And it was caught on cameras. And we knew it had to be something that he did, and there was tension between the two. Well, now we think we know what it was. Have you heard the scoop?
No.
All right, so there's a book coming out, and the guy who writes the book says that it was a result of a steamy text message that was sent between her former student, 48-year-old Iranian-born Golshifta Farhani, and journalist Florian Tardif is the guy who writes the book, says that what Macron said to her is, and what's funny is that it was her former student, right? Macron says, "I find you very pretty," according to the author of the book. And the book is called, and then in parentheses, almost perfect couple. And almost perfect couple.
Who said you are pretty to whom?
Macron said that to a journalist from Iran, who apparently in this story is described as her former student, Brigitte Macron's former student. So I don't know what she does as, is she a professor or something like that?
And then remember the whole debate about whether she is a man?
Yeah. I didn't really follow that one. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yes.
I'm out on that stuff. But it says that Farhani, who is the person that Macron texted, is known to be a staunch critic of the regime in Tehran, allegedly kept up a platonic relationship with Macron for several months. This is all according to the reporting. This led to tensions within the couple, which resulted in this private scene becoming public. And that's what they say in the book. Moments before the slap, Brigitte, 73, had read a message from Farhani on her husband's phone, according to the reports. What hurt Brigitte was not so much the contents of the message as that what it hinted at, a possibly nothing tangible or that could be really denounced, but the idea was enough, reads an extract from the book. So, boy, I didn't know. By the way, how old is Emmanuel Macron?
Younger.
Right. Like she's 73?
Yeah, and I think he's in his 50s.
Yeah, that's kind of odd, right?
Well, that's part of the whole weirdness of the thing.
Maybe that's why he's texting the younger.
Is.
Wait, I'm going to do this here. Macron age difference, and I'm nobody to talk about an age difference in a relationship because I have a 14-year
47.
difference.
He's 47. She's 73.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Well, if it were a
wait,
man,
listen to this. Okay, like now I'm going down the rabbit hole.
Nobody would blink.
No one would blink at all. No, absolutely, you're right about that. Right?
Yes.
Again, they wouldn't. But I'm blinking.
Yeah,
I'm blinking. But listen to this. All right, this is Wikipedia, so I'm going to have to trust it. This happened in the 1980s. Apologize just for a second, because what happened was, when you Google something, it comes up, and then I have to kind of page down to see, what happened. But apparently, she met Emmanuel Macron when she was 39. She was a teacher. He was 15 years old.
Correct.
At the time.
I'm telling you, it is a weird thing.
Was it kind of like a French thing? Is that like, because again, here you sometimes teachers go to prison for that stuff, right?
I know. The whole thing is weird.
Let me see. I got to go to personal life, just because I love this.
How are you, Fred? We'll just let him go
on
down
June 22nd. Oh, she was already married too. Okay, so she's married. My goodness. In 1974, she marries this banker, and she has 3 children.
Yep.
Lawrence, Typhane, and one that they didn't name here. Oh, Sebastian is the other one. Sorry. They moved back to another city in France in 1991. And then in 1993, at the age of 39, she met the 15-year-old Emmanuel Macron at a school where she was a teacher and he was a student and a classmate of her daughter. Bridget divorced the first husband in January 2006. Married Macron 2007, October. Wow. Look at that. She defines herself, I love this little note on the Wikipedia. She defines herself as a non-practicing Catholic. Probably in this situation. That is an unusual age gap between a woman and a man. By the way, even if it was, you may say that people wouldn't blink, but in that case, if a man was in that position and there was a 15-year-old student and a teacher and they ended up getting married, like a Jerry Lee Lewis
right
thing,
about that.
there would be a fair amount of judgment on that.
Absolutely, and it should be.
Man, it's just like it must be France. They're so open-minded about all of this stuff, right?
I don't know, man.
All right, let me get to, it was Sue who actually gave me this story, and I promoted it, so I want to talk about this just a little bit because I find it interesting. Some of you might know, and this is a big fail on my part, because I knew I was going to talk about this, so I should have gone in, because I need some Roundup right now. I should have gone to my Lowe's and got the Roundup, because then I could have snuck back to where the restrooms are, and where the restrooms are at Lowe's. I suggest you do this, ladies and gentlemen, just for fun.
Back to the restroom?
No, I go, what I do is I legit go into the restroom, but then I get nervous because I come out and there's a wall, and the wall leads to the break room, right? And sometimes you can see people, but what I do is I take
uncomfortable.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's literally just one step in the other direction toward the wall, and they have this list of the most stolen items, right? So I always take a picture of it, and from time to time I read that because it's amazing. There's things like these nail guns or whatever that are worth $300, and they walk out the door on a regular basis.
And
they really do.
Generators. And things like that.
Yeah,
How
exactly.
do they do that, Fred?
I don't know.
So this story. And this is somewhat, you can understand why they're doing it, but it's also complicated and controversial because of privacy issues. So the story is this. This is, thank you, Sue Thomas, shared this yesterday. Lowe's and Home Depot are ramping up surveillance in store parking lots in states including California, Texas, and Connecticut with AI-powered license plate readers to combat theft and keep customers safe. But privacy advocates warn the devices could track shoppers' movements. So a little real-life example of this. Here at Odyssey St. Louis, where Park Pacific is located, we had we have a parking lot here, which is what would you call it? It's not a parking lot, it's a parking garage. Thank you. Right. Sometimes words are a challenge for a guy who talks on the radio.
I understand.
Well, we had, and Fred knows this because he has to guide people into the building all the time. It was just a disaster. Things wouldn't work. People wouldn't have tickets validated. So they just went through this whole process, and it's about to kick in, and they're using, this is going to be great, they're going to use license plate readers for us to get in to the building. And then even for the guests, we can program it that way. So these things are very effective, and you can use them for good reasons, is my point. But in this particular case, they say that they can create searchable records showing where vehicles travel, when they arrive, how often they visit certain locations, prompting worries that, you're amassing data about consumer behavior that is accessible to law enforcement, hackers, PIs, or even misused internally. So I guess there was a class action lawsuit that was filed in California. Someone said, look, this is covert surveillance, and you can't do that because you're allowing this to be accessed by law enforcement. They say that they're not giving it to law enforcement.
That's just it. I don't know that they are. And it's just out there. It's not like they're hiding it. Right. And so if you drive into a parking lot that says you are on surveillance camera, okay.
Yeah, that's legal, right?
That's totally legal.
There's a guy in this story who's a constitutional historian. His name is Robert McWhirter. And he says that, what we just stated, that surveillance cameras on private property are legal, but constitutional issues become more complicated once companies share data with law enforcement. Now, again, it was at least Home Depot. Let's see here, because I know that one of them said we're not Lowe's said we do not grant access to our LPRs to federal law enforcement. Home Depot said the same thing. All right, but then there's a matter of trust, right? But what I'd like to know is how they're connecting the dots with the license plate readers to say, oh, that might be the person who ripped this off.
I think they watch them come out, right?
Yeah, follow them on video.
Yeah, watch them come out of the store and what car they get into,
and see if there's repeat business. It'll be interesting.
I, of course, I love to catch the criminals. So I like the idea that when the car drives in, they can run it through the database, find out if that car is stolen. Maybe that person has a warrant. I mean, it really would be. That's where I understand. But if you're going to drive in and there's a sign that says, this parking lot is under surveillance, okay.
Yeah. I would have, I'd have to think through this one a little bit because I do think that there are some privacy concerns. I certainly understand the business is trying to protect themselves. But remember when I had that situation last summer and I was literally heading back from a doctor's appointment and all of a sudden a Webster Groves cop lights me up and I pull over. I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. And at first it was very awkward because he's on my passenger side. I'm, in my spot. I got my hands on the steering wheel. He's being very, very careful to tell me to not, make any moves. He's going to come on the other side of the door and, he's going to get me out of the vehicle. All right. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Well, that was a license plate reader. And what had happened in that situation was there was a warrant that was out, not for me. Not that that hasn't existed before, but my wife had, and it was just stupid. It was from Warren County where it was a ticket for failure to provide proof of insurance. And on those, usually all you have to do is go back within 30 days and say, here's the proof. I legit, and I'm the guy that looks through all the mail and everything, I don't remember anything coming in the mail that says that you have a court date or blah, blah. Apparently there was a court date that was set, and the court date was missed. So the LPR, and by the way, I don't know, I really don't, maybe law enforcement can tell me, I don't know if the LPR was from his vehicle. Was it from a camera that was in the intersection? I'm not sure where that goes off, but they picked me up on that, and there was a warrant, and the guy was on, and by the way, the cop was very cool. The guy was very honest. He goes, look, if this was your wife, I would have had no choice but to arrest her because of the warrant. So, again, those things I think are being used when kids go missing, when crimes get committed. You can tell where they're crossing, especially some of these people who think they're going to get away with crimes. They're crossing through a tollway or whatever. They're picking up the license plate all over. Now, I would also say that if you're a criminal, would it be too hard? You ever see these people that have the, there's sort of a thing that they put over their license plate to make it look, more darked out, where you really can't read the license plates.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that.
But I guess my point would be if you really want to commit a crime, perhaps put something over the license plate. How could people not think of putting some tape over a license plate and then you thwart that whole process, don't you?
I would think.
I'm not trying to help the criminals. I'm just saying.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, on the roads, we've had some issues. And one of those issues was an accident eastbound 270 approaching the Canal Bridge. Well, they got that cleared, and that's great. But now we've got an accident reported near Lilac, so there's a jam behind that. The other accident was westbound 70 past K, and it was on the left side. They've been trying to work that off to the right shoulder, but expect a jam behind that. And it goes back to Mid-Rivers. That is the worst of it. Now, if you're westbound on 40, it's Kings Highway out through McCausland, slowing at 270. Northbound 270 is really stacked up in that lane split as you approach Ladue Road. Southbound a little slow in pockets, too, from Page down through Doherty Ferry. On the Illinois side, we're fine on the Poplar, but 64 eastbound slows at 255. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Brought to you by USPS Ground Advantage.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast.
Pump up the volume.
When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
You might already recognize, or maybe you realized over the winter that your windows aren't very energy efficient. You're closing those windows up. A lot of cold air is getting out. Warm air is getting out of your home. That is not good for the utility bills. It's not good for your home and for anything. And if you have old windows, let's do something about it, because the team at Banner Construction specializes in installing Pella windows, some of the best in the industry. And they've been doing this for a couple of plus decades. Pella's been in business since 1925. They celebrated an awesome 100-year anniversary last year. But the team at Banner will guide you through the perfect replacement window process. They'll find the correct window type, size, and style. There's a lot of different styles, a lot of different grid colors, and all this stuff. They'll work with you because you want energy-efficient glass options and grid options that are going to work for you. Interior, exterior colors that work. I mean, I've always said these, and especially with Pella windows, they stand for quality. They look good from the inside and the out. They also, by the way, specialize in James Hardy fiber cement siding. So get with Banner today for a free in-home design consultation. New windows, new siding, they got it covered. BannerConstruction.com.
Stop before you dig. Click or call 811. Every dig, every time.
Hitting an underground utility can cause costly damage and serious injury. Contact Missouri 811 online or simply dial 811 at least 3 working days before you dig. It's fast, free, and the law. Safety is in your hands. Every dig, every time.
Stop before you dig. Click or call 811. Every dig, every time.
It's the law. Sponsored by Missouri 811.
Why do the national tax resolution firms need the tiny fine print at the bottom of all their TV ads? Hi, this is Lance Story with the Lance Story Law Firm. You don't hear fast-talking disclaimers in our ads because the claims we make are 100% transparent. The Lance Story Law Firm primarily focuses on one thing, IRS problems, and we're regulated by the Bar Association, and we have a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. IRS issues are serious legal issues. The Lance Story Law Firm has helped thousands of clients navigate the best resolution plans, and we tell you up front exactly how much it'll cost. Tax resolution law is all we do. So before you send money to some out-of-town, high-pressure salesperson, give us a call at the Land Story Law Firm, located right here in St. Louis. Call today to schedule your free consultation with me, 314-260-6120, or visit lance.drurylaw.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
Are you tired of feeling sick and tired? I'm Dr. Nick Barnes of Health From Within Family Chiropractic. Our simple 5-step approach aligns your health naturally. We correct spinal abnormalities to maximize nerve supply, focus on pure and simple nutrition, exercise and oxygen, mindset, and minimizing toxins in your body. Transform your health today with Health From Within, conveniently located on Manchester in Rock Hill, or online at healthfromwithinstl.com.
I'm Mark Solinger, producer and one of the hosts of the Moth Podcast. For nearly 2 decades, The Moth has brought live storytelling to stages around the world and to millions of listeners. These are real people telling true stories from their lives. Stories about a lost family recipe, about working to free a wrongfully convicted man, about realizing you need to leave your May-December romance. Stories that will move you, surprise you, make you laugh. Stories you can't forget. Join us. Follow and listen to The Moth wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Wednesday afternoon. A lot of times our friend Alex Rich is here. He had to be off this week, but we are going to still do this on a Wednesday afternoon, if I can get it all right. So this is still my left brain, right brain stuff, trying to work and see where things are. Brad actually left me a list here. Here
Clear
we go.
messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
What a disaster I am this week. I apologize, Sue. I had marked all these things yesterday with masking tape.
Yeah.
And then Brad came in and he remarked it in his way, which is, by the way, much better than me.
Oh.
But I'm not used to his way yet.
Oh, that's fair.
The bottom line, the audience, if you're lost, we were in a temporary studio. That's why. And I'm not pressing buttons in the same way that I usually do. So I'm easily confused. But anyway, it's time for Sue's News.
Okay. Happy National Receptionist Day. You know, the last receptionist I can remember us having was Jody, and she was great.
Yeah, we don't really have receptionists.
Yeah.
We have a security guard, but I think a lot of companies don't have receptionists anymore.
I was going to say,
right?
is that a thing now? Have they a lot of them
it's
gone
not
away?
A thing. I think AI and that kind of stuff is a thing.
AI?
Well, when people call, receptionists
It's
also
not
answer
personal.
phone calls, right?
Yeah, that's true. It's also National Apple Pie Day, which sounds better to me. Fred, apple pie.
Oh, yeah, I like apple pie.
Mark, what is your favorite pie? Have we had this discussion?
I like apple pie quite good.
right.
If it's good, like a really good one. There's a difference in quality of pie. See, that's the thing.
Oh, yes, there is.
Right.
Could you eat a cheap one? I cannot.
I cannot.
I am a pie
No.
snob.
Yeah,
I
am
know that
too.
we share this.
I
Fred?
always like Tippins.
Oh, that
Those were
Tippins
great
is good.
pies, yeah.
Tippins is
Does
good.
that even exist anymore?
I don't think
That place was big for a while,
You
wasn't
know
it?
what? Somebody Google that. I'm not sure. It's also National Frog Jumping Day, which is important.
Hell yeah.
I can't even. And one of my favorites, it's National Crouton Day. What? So if you,
know
have
who
a
loves-
salad tonight.
You know who loves croutons? And
Who?
this is ruining my
Alexa
salad experience.
Reardon.
Yes.
I knew it.
So mom is putting more croutons. And one thing that's positive here is, I don't know if you picked up, she's eating salads. So that is a great thing, right?
Really good.
But
Yes.
she loves the croutons. And
Well,
that's not the most healthy part of the
no,
salad.
it's
and then
not.
I'm getting more croutons by default, right?
You know who has a good crouton is C.J. Muggs in Clayton. I think they do it themselves. They used to.
Homemade?
I don't know if they
Yeah.
still do, but boy, is that good.
I saw a big crouton display on an end cap at Walmart, right on the end of the aisle. They had, like,
Wow.
all these croutons.
By the
Maybe
way,
it's because it's crouton day.
I've just made a decision that I don't really know that I care for the word crouton. Now that I hear it repeatedly, I don't like that word.
It is weird. It's not something you say repeatedly.
Right.
Yeah, that's an odd
why it's throwing me
thing.
off.
Yeah. On this day in history, 32 years ago. Now, to me, this sounds both longer and shorter than it should be. It was 1994, and Johnny Carson made the final TV appearance of his life on The Late Show with David Letterman. Now, here's what they did. It was Dave behind the desk, and he says, now we're going to have Johnny Carson do the top 10, and Larry Bud Melman came out, with the glasses.
Yeah, yeah.
And they then, because he looks like, and then he left. And and Dave says, this isn't the top 10. And the real Johnny Carson came out. It was kind of cool. I don't know they actually did anything. Otherwise, I'd have it on here. But everybody stood up and applauded. He got a standing O, and then he just said thanks and
he
left.
said goodbye. Yeah.
Also, Jimmy Fallon was only 19 at the time. Think about that. Johnny had always wanted Dave to replace him on The Tonight Show, and that did not happen. And then, this has music. 22 years ago today, in 2004, this show aired its final episode.
Hey, baby, I hear the blues.
Well, not really, because they did the reboot, but yeah, reboot, not the
real
reboot.
one.
I went through a Frasier period, this, a couple years ago, and it was fun to watch. I watched a bunch of the seasons sort of late at night, and it held up quite well. I never did watch one episode of the reboot. It just looked awkward to me, so I avoided it.
Are the original cast in it?
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
John Maloney, I don't even know if he's still alive.
I don't think he's with us.
Right, exactly.
No,
and I think they renewed it for a second season or something. But yeah, I loved the original Frasier is awesome. It really is.
Agreed. The only thing that looks weird is everybody's outfits, just because of the time.
Going back to that time, yeah. Well, that's going to happen with period pieces, right?
Suits, I don't know. It's just funny. And Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey are doing a show on Apple TV called Brothers. Did you know this?
No.
I did not. And yes, they will acknowledge the rumor that they could be half brothers in real life. Woody says it's coming out this fall, and he compares it to Curb Your Enthusiasm. Quote, we play ourselves, but everything is fictionalized. And he says the show starts with him coming to Texas to hang out with Matthew, but once his bus is inside the gates of his ranch, it's not going to go anywhere. Quote, that was the concept, and that's what we've done for the first 8 episodes. It might be interesting.
Yeah, it sounds like a unique concept, if you will.
I like those two. I think that might be really kind of good. All right, here's something I had not considered. And we've been talking about AI all the time. There's a new report out that says cell phones are now able to capture such high-resolution images that it's possible for your fingerprints to be extracted from them if you make the peace sign or like a V in photos.
That's crazy.
Okay, this is not something that would ever even occur to me.
Right.
But they say there are some big buts. This would take a significant operation to pull off using advanced AI-powered software. But it is worth mentioning because if it does come along that far, there's no need. I mean, you could just keep your hands at your side and you're fine. But if you're doing this in a selfie or if it's really close, they think it's possible now.
Yeah, but are they going to really do that? I mean, I know everything that's possible, you can do it and everything, but
Mark,
what's the real life implication of that?
George Rosenthal probably has seen it already.
Well, that's probably true. But I don't know. Every time you think, well, that's not going to happen, it does. So I'm just, it could. And they say that the tools and the software can eventually catch up. And if that's the case, you could just be aware and try to watch it. I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. I'm not a thrower of the V sign in photos, so I think I'm okay.
I don't think I am either, so that's actually a very good point. Yeah.
Yes. Some people really are.
I do the pointy finger sometimes to the guy next to
me.
me.
What is
but
that?
I don't
Men
know. It's
do
just
that.
like that's
Yeah.
like deferring to the person who's maybe more popular or famous than you are. Not that I'm famous. I don't know. It's just a thing. Paul Ryan made fun of me when I did that actually back in the day. He's like, I don't get that. You guys do this pointy thing. I'm like, well, you're kind of important, or you were at one point.
I've got a picture of me and Joe Buck. And Joe Buck is doing that
Yeah.
to me.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Pointing at
cute.
me.
That's nice, though.
Yeah.
Well, according to a new report, young people are devoting a lot of time to teaching themselves new job skills, and they're using online tutorials on YouTube and even TikTok. Now, I'm talking about stuff like coding or AI, spreadsheets, models, design. There's so much on YouTube that you can now teach yourself. I've thought about learning Excel that way. I don't use it that much, but I think it would be interesting to go on there. So they say, yeah, they're not going out to classes necessarily. They just sit home and watch things
I
like
believe that.
TikTok,
Yeah.
and that's how they learn. I don't think that's a bad idea. It's cheaper than taking an actual accredited course, and it's also more convenient. And 71% of hiring managers believe skills learned through informal online platforms are credible. You could be educating yourself, Fred.
I need to take one on how to cook.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
Me too, Fred.
Yeah. It's not that hard, you guys. You just follow instructions. And finally,
We're men.
oh, yeah. In Sue's News, we have today's random fact. I don't know which one to do, but all right, think about it this way. Kraft macaroni and cheese came out in 1937. It was during the Great Depression. It was an instant hit because it could serve a family of 4 for 19 cents.
Yeah. And you know what? By the way, they're remarketing that right now and
Wow.
trying to focus on the family meal thing because of
Good
prices.
idea.
I'm Dan Loney with Your Money Now. Shares of Cisco soared in the aftermarket trade as earnings and revenue for the most recent quarter beat expectations. It also issued better guidance moving forward. Earnings per share came in at $1.06, revenue $15.84 billion. The tech firm upped its expected orders on AI infrastructure to $9 billion from $5 billion this year because it's already at $5.3 billion for the current fiscal year. Kevin Warsh won confirmation in the Senate to be the next chair of the Federal Reserve. The vote was almost totally along party lines. The only Democrat to vote for the nominee was John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, and Warsh will take over for Jerome Powell, who's been chair since 2018. He'll see his term expire on Friday. Wall Street posted mixed results today after a hotter than expected inflation report. The Dow Industrial average down 67 points at 49,693. NASDAQ was up 314. The S&P 500 head by 43. That's Your Money Now.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent not required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season.
I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think it could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
I was feeling the same way. After 40, the body has less testosterone, and men lose their edge. That's why I take Nugenix Total T2.
That's the testosterone booster, right?
Yes, but Total T2 is their brand new formula that skyrockets nitric oxide levels in as little as 3 hours. Since I started taking it, I've been lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. My energy is way up, and it even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles?
Yep, just send a text.
Text SPARK to 215-215 for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T2, the next generation testosterone booster. Text now and we'll include a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, our newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text SPARK to 215-215. That's SPARK to 215-215.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Men, if you're suffering from erectile dysfunction or PE, you're not alone. Most importantly, you don't have to live with it. Paramount Men's Medical Center restores men's sex lives in just one visit. Their painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, even when Viagra and Cialis don't work. Here's Dr. Simovitz, specialist in men's health.
Paramount Men's Medical Center's painless breakthrough treatments eliminate ED and PE, regardless of age or medical history. 98% of patients see instant results right in the office.
Men are now lasting longer than they ever imagined. And the best part, at Paramount Men's Medical Center, your consultation and first treatment are free. Qualified patients even get their testosterone checked free. Call 314-887-4333. 314-887-4333. Take control of your sex life. Call now. 314-887-4333.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. If you're the victim of a careless driver due to no fault of your own, the only way to know what your case is worth is by uncovering the full extent of your injuries. At Kaufman Townsley, we work with the top doctors in St. Louis. We'll help you get the expert medical care you need and fight to get you the maximum money you deserve. Kaufman Townsley. Real people, real results. Call 314-777-7777.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to hear you.
Hey, Dad, isn't it good to see ya?
Yep, but with smoke alarms, we need to hear them. If one alarm is downstairs, you might not hear it upstairs.
At school, everyone hears the fire alarm.
That's why we install hardwired smoke alarms that all go off together, just like school.
Smoke alarms? done the right way.
Green is always grasser at grasserhomeservices.com.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Celebrating 250 years of freedom and 25 years of 97.1 FM Talk in St. Louis.
Oh, my, we still have a lot to go. We're only halfway through the show. Duane Patterson from HotAir.com, host of the Duane's World podcast. We'll talk some politics at 5:04. Tomorrow is the start of the PGA Championship. I can't believe it's been since 2018 since we had it here at Belle Reve, but our golf correspondent Dan Reardon will be covering the PGA Championship. There's some very interesting pairings for tomorrow. They go out early, too. I think the first tee time is like 5:45 in the morning. They're just outside of Philadelphia, so Dan, no relation, will join us at 5:30. Curtis Houck is back with us, managing editor of Newsbusters at the Media Research Center. How are you this afternoon? Been a couple of weeks since we've caught up.
Yeah, good to be with you, my friend. Absolutely. How are you?
I'm good. Things are good. Let me start with 60 Minutes, because I played a little bit of this audio from Bibi Netanyahu in this interview that he did the other night, which I found interesting. But one of the things that he talked about, which may have something, to it, is he blamed the polling on Israel in this country on social media misrepresentations. And when you think about it, there is a lot of that stuff. And we know that younger people are getting their news from TikTok, et cetera. So there might be something to that, right?
No, I definitely think so. I mean, I think there's a number of layers to this that he was saying. I mean, there's a proliferation of hate. You look at our education system, the people in our education system, the current generation, millennials, Zoomers, Alpha, and unfortunately Beta, or whatever you're going to call these folks, they engage based on the visual and thus they can be susceptible to emotional manipulation. So they see crying kids in Gaza because they're stringers or freelancers for all these networks inside Gaza, as what took place during the war, that are basically approved and allowed to be out there by Hamas. And they thus only release the views and the footage that wants to be put out there. So you add all that together and you can string this together in emotional videos and news reports, and you get people to feel a certain way instead of going back to kind of understanding the full history of Israel and the region. The most people will do is read Tom Friedman instead of let's say Dennis Prager's Why the Jews, or a book by Michael Oren about, I believe, the 10-Day War, or those kinds of things. Instead, they engage in kind of these emotional appeals, or they look at these groups like Amnesty International or other so-called experts with these sensational stories, like the Nick Kristof thing that has come out this week about dogs being trained to assault and rape prisoners.
Okay, wait a second. I missed this. You're going to have to brief me on this one. I have not heard about this.
Yes, Nick Kristof has a column in the New York Times that they put on the front page using all sorts of anti-Semitic, disproven groups and individuals claiming that there has been mass rapes of Palestinians in prisons, in Israeli prisons, specifically in the sections where people are held on terrorism charges. That is basically Abu Ghraib and on steroids. Down to he claims that dogs are being trained to do some of this. It's absolutely galaxy brain, stuff, and somehow this was published. And so these kinds of sensationalist claims, these pouty stories, are being latched onto by a lot of young people. And so that's what Netanyahu's kind of getting at here.
And I think I did, obviously don't read Nick Kristof every week at the New York Times, but I certainly understand he's one of the bigger names over there, and I had not heard all about that. But now that you mention, I think I heard reference to that. But, one of the things that's tough really even for me to disseminate is I saw a video. Now, I'm very skeptical because I want to be responsible, Curtis. And when I see something on Twitter that I want to retweet, I've gotten in the habit of really trying to vet it and find out if it's real, because you don't know a lot of times. And, some of the things that I'll post will be AI, but I'll acknowledge that it's just funny that it's AI. But I saw a video a couple of days ago of a bunch of people in Gaza basically it was a rage. It was a party. It was a disco. They were going nuts. Everything was, having fun. So for me, I was a little challenged on those images. Now, I think they're real. I don't know. But if they're real, that screams something other than genocide, doesn't it?
Correct, exactly. And it also goes to the point about Israel could have, you take whatever estimate of casualty rates, and then you take whatever the population of Gaza is, allegedly, and then you figure out, okay, well, based on, let's just take the Holocaust, for example, or even the Armenian genocide or something else, and you look at that and you say, well, that's not really even close. To these kinds of things. And the important thing to take into account that isn't when they would put up all these numbers about tens of thousands of people killed in Gaza is the Palestinian, the Hamas run Gaza Health Ministry did not distinguish between who is a 5-year-old child and a, let's say, 17-year-old that had an RPG.
Right.
On their shoulder.
That seems to be significant.
They just list deaths. So it's those large statistics that grab people and say, oh, my gosh, all these people have died. What is Israel doing? And it requires a little bit more explanation. And, and also, the Israeli government has put out a new report talking about the levels of assault and violations of all the people and women and children on October 7th. So that Christoph column and the Netanyahu interview, they all kind of coalesce and they came at the same time. I did like what Netanyahu said. It's not we're calling for mass censorship. It comes down to education, talking to our friends and family, variety of news sources, not just clinging to Google News or Apple News or just solely the New York Times. You have to take in a wide variety of sources.
Right. But see, what some people do, and this will lead me into our next conversation. Curtis Houck from Newsbusters is here. There are people that, and I've always kind of mockingly called The View the most politically important talk show in America, right? Well, we give a lot of attention to them, and I always have because, look, you might even remember when Rosie O'Donnell was on that show. I mean, that was just radio gold, dude.
Oh, yeah.
She gave me audio all the time. But then you have, things, what they do is they hear things in the news, they like to beat up on Trump, and then they say stupid things like this. Here's Whoopi Goldberg.
Here's the other problem. We make laws to fix problems. We put the Voting Rights Act together because there was an issue. Because they were keeping people from voting. Right. They were literally shooting people. They were running them down with dogs to keep them from voting. Okay, let's start with that. So when they say that problem is gone, it's not gone.
So, first of all, what she said is absolutely true, and it's horrific what happened to African Americans when, we had the lead up to the Civil Rights Act. But she's actually making the case that still happens.
Because you're still doing it. You're still doing it. And what I don't understand is what is everybody so afraid of? Because I always thought, I was raised to believe that you and I don't have to agree. That's all right. But now suddenly, your argument doesn't hold water, so you're cheating.
I don't even know what she's talking about, Curtis, but I know that the claim, and there have been a couple of them this week, that somehow we're not making and have made no racial progress in this country in the last 50 years is utterly ridiculous. Even Barack Obama, I believe he was black and he was elected president, he even acknowledged that we've made great strides on race. But Whoopi and the rest of the gang, they want to go backwards.
Yeah, they do want to go backwards. I mean, what evidence is there that they're sicking dogs at
There's
black
none.
people at the polls?
And nobody even
we
flagged
went through
that.
this with Georgia.
Right, exactly.
Exactly. We went through this with Georgia, the voter election law, with Stacey Abrams and all the rest, and losing the All-Star game in Georgia.
Larry David did an entire season of Curb Your Enthusiasm based on the fake stuff out of Georgia and the election law.
Correct. Exactly. Where are the fact checkers on this? Number one. Number two, The View is an ABC News program. We should remind folks of this. This is not the daytime division that oversees General Hospital. This is an ABC News program, and this is why Brendan Carr was talking about the FCC, because if you're going to say you are a news program on public airwaves, you have to comply with certain standards in terms of being factual here. And there's no one internally at ABC, or at least publicly, or anonymously pushing back on this. We know there's leaks at CBS, for example. There's no pushback on any of this. I mean, just the other day, Whoopi also said that focusing on maternal health is turning kids into toddler white nationals.
Oh, I missed that one.
What? Like, wait, what? What is going on? A Trump administration policy with the moms.gov and other policies to increase the fertility rate and plans, breaks for people that want to have children is going to turn them into white nationalists because it's somehow going to endear them to Trump. No evidence, again, to any of this.
Yeah, they're quite something over there. They do get flagged by the lawyers, but that's the only, people that are keeping them in check at The View.
Yes.
Then again, it provides me with a lot of audio and entertainment. Curtis Houck, I hope you're well. You have a great week. I appreciate coming on this afternoon.
Yeah, no problem. Take care, my friend. We'll talk again soon.
Absolutely.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, there's a stall on northbound 170, a little bit south of 64. Looks like it's on the right shoulder. And they've cleared the accident westbound 70 out past K. We have a jam, though, on westbound 370, headed for 141, and that is due to road work. Southbound 270, slow pockets from Page down through Doherty Ferry. Southbound 170 is slow, and that's from Olive through 64. Westbound 40 lines up Kings Highway out through McCausland, really in pockets out through 270. Then you get a break, and it slows west of Winghaven out through the 70 split. We've got southbound 170 slow ramping on to 64. We still look good on the Poplar. 44 westbound slow in front of the Arch Grounds. And a jam on eastbound 64 headed for 157. That due to road work. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Call them for their 26-point tune-up. It's one price for up to 3 garage doors and openers. Always look for the genuine original red ribbon of Overhead Door Company. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, last night in the 5:30 segment, it was another stellar example of George Rosenthal and Throttlenet knocking it out of the park. We do a segment called Tech Talk Tuesdays, and there is never enough time, as my mic drifts away from me there, that was interesting, to fill the time because there's so many topics related to AI and some of this other stuff. Now, as a business owner, if you run a business here in St. Louis, you absolutely want to take advantage of the offer that I'm going to give you right now from the team at Throttlenet, because not only do they do, great work here on a weekly basis, they're great sponsors. And if you go to throttlenet.com/971, you will get a free baseline IT security check. And you really, and George will tell us, he kind of tries to reemphasize this all the time, you don't know where you are as a business if you don't have that first baseline check, and then they can take it from there. They're a great company. They've been doing this for a long time here in St. Louis with outstanding success, helping businesses navigate technology, focusing on security strategy, and keeping companies productive for 25 plus years. So if you want to take advantage of the free baseline IT security audit, do it today. Throttlenet.com/971. It really is a simple way to get clarity on your cybersecurity risk. Throttlenet.com/971.
Hey, it's Annie. Grab your clubs and head to Tamarack Golf Course on Friday, May 22nd for the St. Clair County Republicans annual golf tournament. Shotgun start, 18 holes, carts, contest, lunch, and great prizes. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Hi, this is Steve Butts from the Crawford Butts Insurance Agency. In 2026, our agency celebrates a momentous occasion as we celebrate 65 years of service to our clients, a tribute to our founder and my dad, Nor Butts. Our staff is ready to assist you with all your insurance needs. So please call me, Steve Butts, at 314-752-2500 or at crawfordbutts.com. For auto, home, and commercial insurance needs, that's crawfordbutts.com.
Summer is on the way, or should I say the heat in St. Louis, it's on its way. Be here before we even know it. If you haven't had your air conditioners checked and set up and ready to go for this cooling season, or if you were told you might need a new one, or you just think this is the time of the year, this year is the time to just go ahead and replace it. Prices are down. 0% financing is available. It's still the best time to call me. Don't put it off. One easy number in Missouri and Illinois. It is 314-293-2600. Again, that's 314 293-2600 in Missouri and Illinois, or on the internet, bartinman.com. That is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com. God bless.
Ready for a fresh start? The Excel Center in St. Louis is here to help you earn your high school diploma, tuition-free and on your schedule. With convenient locations in downtown St. Louis and Florissant, you can learn at your pace with support every step of the way. Need childcare, career coaching, flexible classes? We've got you covered. Registration is now open. Don't wait to take the next step toward your future. Visit excel.mersgoodwill.org to enroll today. This community message has been brought to you by Together Credit Union.
Want to make the most of your tax refund? File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it with a personalized plan designed to help you hit your money goals. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
I got some good stuff here, Sue, that I haven't really played yet, audio-wise. I want to save some of it for around 5:20, but I also have some stories that are kind of interesting as well. First of all, did you hear Bonnie Tyler was in the hospital? Yesterday it looked like she was going to die, but I think she's okay.
Oh, I
she's
didn't know
in
it was
stable
that
condition.
bad.
Well,
Okay.
they had to, I think they had to induce a coma, but
gosh.
the latest reporting of course, Bonnie Tyler, the singer.
Sorry to hear that.
She's in stable condition, so it's kind of hard to tell what that means. You have, there's a couple of local stories that I thought were somewhat fascinating. The first one is just sort of a weird observational thing, and that was in the Post-Dispatch today. Do you know Ladou's graduating class of 2026 has 10 sets of twins? No, I'm sorry, 12 sets of twins.
Holy cow.
12 sets of twins, right? So when I first heard and there is something to this. So Ethan and I were talking about
I
this.
assume this is...
What would your gut check on that be?
Yeah,
why would there be so many twins in that particular class? Would you have a theory about that?
Yeah, what do you call the process where
In
you
vitro.
help people? Yeah, it's in
Yes,
vitro.
and that's exactly what
Yeah.
it is. So what they say in here, and the numbers are interesting. So they say, these were 17 years ago, right, when twins were born. So the people in the school district were saying, wow, there was one point where all these people we knew, at trivia nights and everything said we have twins. So a decade later, 12 pairs of twins are part of Ladou's graduating class out of 353 students. Another 4 students are twins whose siblings attend a different school. So that's 16, right? So,
Dang.
No, they say 28 of the 353 graduates are twins, roughly 1 in 12 students. Now, so why is that? Well, my ex-wife, I think I've mentioned this before, she has worked in fertility clinics for almost her entire career. So I know a little bit about IVF and what happens in the process. But yeah, that's exactly what was going on here. And
Wow.
also because, think about it, this has to do with socioeconomic factors. The people that live in that school district are much better suited. Look, I'm not making this up. They pointed out in the story,
Yeah.
they are financially able to afford those treatments a little bit,
True.
more than other people. So they say wealthier communities are more likely to have access to IVF. Women in higher socioeconomic groups and those with higher levels of education are also more likely to delay motherhood, because the other part of this is that it's not necessarily only the IVF, but also, and I don't think I knew this, and this is something that certainly could have affected me and my family, but advanced maternal age increases the likelihood of having twins. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, so that's all I know is
Did you say, by the
having
way-
a wife that's on antibiotics at the same time as birth control
Does
is
not
also
pan
what
out.
results in a pregnancy, because that's what happened to me. So I just thought that was kind of interesting.
That is
Kinda
interesting. And
weird.
did you say in there that some of those sets of twins had one go to Ladou and somewhere else?
Yeah.
Only in Ladou School District can that happen, where you could afford to send one to
That's right.
private school and the other one.
Yeah, how about the kid that has to go to
That's
public
what I
school
mean.
now?
What do you
Man.
do there?
Yeah.
Flip a coin?
Yeah, we didn't like your IQ test. I don't know the circumstance. Maybe there was another reason. I'm not
Yeah,
even saying it was
but
private
4
school.
sets?
It could be divorce situations.
Oh,
and things.
that's true.
You don't
That's
know
true.
the thing. So then I love stories like this just because I always think to myself, well, 2 things. Man, I wish I could do this and not get away with it. And 2, if these people that did this would put as much effort into their criminal behavior as they, if they would do that in other aspects of their life, they'd be really successful. So here's the story. This is another one from the Post. A Lake St. Louis woman has been federally indicted on charges that she embezzled $1.2 million from her employer. Carrie Bertles is her name. She's 44 years old. She faces 5 counts of wire fraud. She turned herself in Monday. She pleaded not guilty. Prosecutors say that she was an accountant and a senior financial analyst. So she's in like a big position, right? At Image Technologies Corporation, which is in Brentwood. And she is the person in charge of approving expense reports and paying the company credit card bills and other things. She, however, is accused of using her company credit card between October 2018 and January. I guess this is this past January. They don't really say. To buy $19,000 in beauty products from Red Aspen. What's Red Aspen? Is that a website?
I don't know.
It's a lot of beauty products.
Yeah.
$16,512 in fitness coaching.
Wow.
She wanted to be in good shape. This one gets me right here. Listen to this. $42,407 in DoorDash deliveries.
Oh, come on.
That's a lot of DoorDash.
That's a lot.
That tells me that she ate out at DoorDash like every freaking night. Now, if you're looking at this from 2018 to now, that's 8 years, right?
Wow.
But still, $59,994 in Amazon purchases.
Oh, gosh.
$15,000 in airfare for domestic and international trips. $27,044 from Instacart. $14,331 in jewelry from Diamonds Direct, and $14,110 at a sandals resort. They don't say if that was in Jamaica or somewhere else. So what they say is that she hid the embezzlement, right? And by the way, you can't tell me that this probably doesn't happen in a lot more circumstances. When you got companies that have this much money, I mean, think about it. She's probably in her mind over the course of that period, dinking and dunking, a little bit here.
Right.
It adds up after a period of years. But they say that she would not submit monthly expense reports for unauthorized credit card purchases. She redirected the credit card statements from work to her home, as well as divided the payments for her unauthorized purchases into smaller amounts in the accounting system. So she worked at this really, really hard. Now, one of the things, and this is a pet peeve of mine in the news business, because this is something that they do on the radio, they do this on TV. They say this: wire fraud is punishable by up to 20 years in prison and a fine of up to $250,000. Let me tell you what's going to happen here to this woman. She's probably going to get a year, if that, 9 months, slap on the wrist. It's worth it for her.
Well, wait a minute. Don't they try to get the money back?
Oh, come on, Sue. She's going to have to pay the money back. You think that'll ever happen?
Well,
it will not happen.
Set it up in payments for like the rest of her life?
Yeah, like $30 payments because she has no income. I'm just telling you, you're never going to get the money paid back. She's not going to be punished in an appropriate fashion.
That's
and in the end, she's probably going to say, yeah, I think it was worth it.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Well, traffic-wise, we've got some issues. If you're just headed out, maybe you're headed into Illinois, eastbound 70 slows at 64. And 64 eastbound, there was an accident reported approaching 157. Westbound 70 out of downtown, slow pockets, Jennings Station Road, really out through Wentzville. And 370 jams at 141 due to road work. There was an accident reported westbound 6440, really close to Clayton Skinker. Now we have a parking lot jam back through Kings Highway, and then slow pockets out through 270. Slowing again at Clarkson, and then from Winghaven out through 70. The southbound 270 volume is Page down through Doherty Ferry, and northbound at jams headed for Ladue Road. This report brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, they have been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. Windows, siding, kitchens, baths, outdoor spaces, quality craftsmanship, and lifetime warranties. Go to lakesiderd.com. I'm Sue Thomas. That's Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, it's another one of those days where the Wall Street folks were not trading as much as selling. The Dow down just a little bit, though. It closed under 49,000, 49,693, just down 67 points. I want to bring it up because I want to guide you into some great retirement help from the team at the Retirement Advisory Group. We had a great meeting with them seminar that we do 5 times a year a couple of weeks ago in Chesterfield at the Doubletree. Used to do those in Frontenac. We're going to do more of these. We do 5 a year. There's another one coming up in a couple of months. But I always advise don't put it off. Don't wait any longer, especially if your retirement's on the line. These are very important questions. We know that inflation is ticking away at the money you are saving. Help guard your golden years. Get in with the team at the Retirement Advisory Group. It's a free visit in the office. They'll consult with you, find out what your goals are, and work on a plan to make sure that you can reach those goals. Now, one of the things that they do, and it's very different than some of the other brokerage firms, is they will teach you the philosophy and the strategy of safely linking to the market. That's going to lock in your gains and prevent losses. Let them explain it to you. Go into the office one-on-one. Call 314-993-9494. The website's great, too, retirementkey.com. They're the official financial planners of this show. Thomas Helbig and the team at the Retirement Advisory Group.
Ronald Reagan once famously said, "Government is not the solution, government is the problem." When it comes to economic growth, government can be a roadblock. With red tape, regulations, and subsidies, government stifles entrepreneurship and also props up businesses that deserve to go under. Unlike government, free markets encourage risk-taking, freedom to succeed or fail. Governments shouldn't be picking winners and losers, the market should. Free markets benefit the business owner and the customer by encouraging competition. Free Market enabled a young man named J.C. Hall selling picture postcards in Kansas City to turn his idea into Hallmark cards. In St. Louis, the Free Market made it possible for Adolphus Busch to turn his father-in-law's local beer into the world's largest brewery. A free market also means you get to send your kids to the school of your choice. Learn more about free markets at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Bringing a data center online takes more than equipment. It takes precision. Graybar helps customers predict, stage, schedule, deliver, and verify every step of the build with critical products that are available now. From networking and wireless to critical power and testing tools, our teams help you reduce downtime risk and keep projects on track. Speed, scale, ready now. Yep, Graybar does that.
Hey, it's Annie. Grab your clubs and head to Tamarack Golf Course on Friday, May 22nd for the St. Clair County Republicans annual golf tournament. Shotgun start, 18 holes, carts, contest, lunch, and great prizes. Learn more at 971talk.com/events.
Oh, one of my favorite political pundits, Duane Patterson from hotair.com, coming up on the other side of Fox News, and that is next.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Hours away from a high-stakes meeting. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. As President Trump is set to sit down with China's President Xi Jinping.
President Trump is trying to turn the page after years of putting tremendous economic pressure on China, culminating, of course, with those Liberation Day tariffs. Things seem to be a lot better now at the start of the trip than they were a couple months ago when President Trump used many opportunities to say that China is ripping us off and that they had been ripping the United States off for years.
Fox's Peter Doocy in Beijing. Taiwan and the Iran conflict are likely to come up as China has expressed anger that the U.S. has sold weapons to Taiwan, and China gets a lot of oil from the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has blocked. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu secretly went to the UAE. His office says it strengthened ties with the country, which normalized relations with Israel in 2020. This comes a day after U.S. Ambassador to Israel Mike Huckabee revealed Israel sent Iron Dome air defense weapons and personnel to operate them to the UAE. Iran has fired missiles at that country. A Utah woman who wrote a children's book about grief is convicted of murdering her husband.
Corey Richens telling the court,
I'm not perfect. I have succeeded and I have failed. As a person, as a wife, as a parent, we all do. I have done plenty of things I am not proud of.
A judge sentencing the 35-year-old to life without parole on 5 felony convictions, including aggravated murder for fatally poisoning her husband Eric in 2022 with a lethal dose of fentanyl. The judge calling her too dangerous to ever be free. The prosecution had asked for the maximum sentence, noting Richens' 3 sons feared for their safety if she were ever released.
Fox's Kristen Goodwin, her lawyers say they will appeal. Prosecutors in South Carolina say they will plan to seek a new trial for Alec Murdaugh. America's listening to Fox News.
My dad passed away unexpectedly. Of course, it was awful in every way, but we are very grateful that he had life insurance. So even after he was gone, he was still able to provide for us. And that's why I have life insurance for my family. Ethos.com, that make it fast and easy to get covered. It's 100% online. You get a quote in seconds, and you can apply in minutes. You get covered the same day.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Rates may vary.
I move mountains for a living. Literally. That means I don't carry hand lotion, and when it comes to serious heartburn, I don't mess around with anything but Rolaids. Rolaids' dual-active formula has calcium carbonate and magnesium hydroxide that relieves heartburn fast. Yeah, you heard right. 2 actives for that powerful relief. And the best part? The roll fits right here in my pocket, so I can get back to moving mountains.
Rolade spells powerful relief. Read each label. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
It's a beautiful evening around town with temperatures primarily in the 60s. Think upper 60s and 51 for the cool overnight low, clear skies. Gorgeous day again Thursday. Instant replay. Plenty of sunshine and nice 76. Increasing clouds Thursday night. The evening is dry. A couple of showers really late, almost towards morning. 59 Friday. Changeable sky, mixed clouds and sunshine. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. This is the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
I think it's a Fred asked Siri this, and I think what Siri said is it's a 13-hour time difference between here and China. And listen to this, though. So that means it's like 6 in the morning. Trump's probably been up all night, but he had like crowds cheering for him when he arrived. Yeah. How about that? Probably warmer than he gets in some parts of this country. His goals for the meeting, if I can get that to play. Here we go.
I have a great relationship with President Xi, and I think it's going to remain that way. We have a lot of things to discuss. I wouldn't say Iran is one of them, to be honest with you, because we have Iran very much under control. We're either going to make a deal or they're going to be decimated. So one way or the other, we win.
What about
but we're going to be talking with President Xi about a lot of different things. I would say more than anything else will be trade.
Yeah, Duane Patterson back with us from hotair.com, host of the Duane's World podcast. Trump relishes a meeting like this. I mean, I think he loves to be on the world stage with someone that's kind of his equal, because there are not many equals are there out there in the world next to Trump.
There really aren't. I mean, it depends who you ask. If you ask the Iranian regime, they think that they are now the 4th world superpower. I mean, according
true
to them.
Yeah.
I think the world would have something different to say about it, but you can say there's definitely 2, maybe a 3rd if you throw in Russia, but I'm not even sure that they're much of a superpower anymore. They're a nuclear power, but Ukraine's giving them all they can handle right now. But
by the way, and I think you know this, that's a bit of an undercovered story. Some of the recent successes of Zelensky, and he's kind of moving away from even asking the U.S. for help because he's not getting any more. But they're having success. I don't know. Again, it's hard to gauge, Duane, whether success ever means the possibility of victory, because one of the reasons I was always very concerned about that is because I didn't see a path for Ukraine to win. I don't know that I still do, but I think we're all surprised by how long they've been, staying in the fight. And the drone warfare is fascinating. So, all the eyes on the other parts of the world have kind of taken the eyeballs off of that, but they are succeeding in really inflicting a lot of damage to Russia right now.
One of the reasons, it's not, the primary reason, obviously, everybody's focused on the Strait of Hormuz, but one of the reasons why oil has been creeping back up again of late is because there are a lot of things that make oil into gasoline and other byproducts, LNG and other things, in Russia that have gone boom deep into Russia proper, because Ukrainian drones are blowing stuff up. I mean, it's like yesterday there was another refinery that all of a sudden is now on fire, and it wasn't on fire yesterday. Ukraine has figured out how to do deep penetration using robotics, 4-chamber robotic vehicles that go to some tunnel somewhere, and then the ports open up and drones take off from there. And by the time the Russians have figured out they're even in the air, it's too late. They've already hit a refinery or hit some oil pipeline or some pumping station at a dock somewhere, and you start adding these things up. There's 6, 7, 8 of these different strikes, these different facilities. I mean, I don't know if I told you about this, but a couple of weeks ago, there was one refinery that got hit, and there was enough significant damage that there was oil from that refinery, crude oil, that was flowing into the streets of the neighboring township, just through the residential streets, and it looked like lava. It was on fire because of...
I did not see that.
Oh, it's. I mean, there's all sorts of stuff that Ukraine's inflicting onto Russia right now.
Well, let's kind of get back to Iran and what's going to happen there. Sure. We can go to China, but look, you heard what the president said. Maybe Iran's not going to even come up. I highly doubt that it's not going to be touched upon just a little bit, maybe even in some subtle ways. But we are in a period right now where there are talks going on, there aren't talks going on. We have a ceasefire. We don't have a ceasefire. The strait's open. The strait's not open. We're going to decimate. We're not going to decimate. It really is hard to know where this all is right now.
Sun Tzu, right? You never let the enemy know what your plans are, and you kind of confuse them so that they miscalculate what's going to happen. I mean, that's chapter 2 of Sun Tzu. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is channeling Sun Tzu, but it's that kind of rhetoric. So what's actually taken place in China? The conventional wisdom is that Iran is topic number 1. I don't think it is, and actually, the 800-pound gorilla that everybody thinks is in the corner when Donald Trump does do the face-to-face with Xi Jinping, I don't think he's going to bring it up. He's going to bring up trade. He's going to bring up, beef tariffs. He's going to bring up how to get back into the supply chain business again with some severe modifications on China's part. There was talk that China is now open to purchasing planes from Boeing, which I thought was kind of interesting. So there's all sorts of things like that coming up. But Trump's not going to even bring up Iran. He's going to force Xi Jinping to bring it up because they need the oil and they need that strait opened up a lot more than we do. If Xi perceives that Trump wants his help, then, that plays into Xi's hand. But if Trump says, I don't care if it's open or not, doesn't bother me any. We've got plenty. We've got all the oil we need here. Is an inconvenience because of price? Yeah, but that's temporary. And Xi Jinping can't handle this for very much longer. He just can't. So he's going to be the one to say, yes, but Mr. President, we need to talk about Iran. We need that strait opened up. Oh, okay. What are you willing to do about it?
I think something could unfold like that, but also here's the difficulty I'm having, because there's still a lot of threats out there from the president and decimation. You're going to have to finish the job. I mean, you can't just drag this out week after week. Coming. Well, I would hope so. That's what I would say.
Well, here's something that I can tell you why I think it's coming. Operation Epic Fury, glorious as it was for the 6 weeks that it was in place, has been deemed to be over, and therefore you don't have to worry about War Powers Act or all the other kind of nonsense that goes along with that. But now that the ceasefire was on terminal life support or serious life support, as Donald Trump called it, because of the counterproposal they offered, which was ridiculous. Apparently what is leaking out of the Pentagon, and very little is, but according to open sourcing, the next operation name has been leaked.
Yeah, I heard a little bit of reference to this earlier.
And it's not going to be Operation Epic Fury. The long-awaited, highly anticipated sequel is going to be Operation Sledgehammer. Now, if you're going to call something Operation Sledgehammer, I don't think that's little individual drone strikes here and there.
No.
If you're going to bring a sledgehammer, well, Gallagher used to bring a sledgehammer, and he laid waste to watermelon and produce on stages all across America.
I kind of liked Gallagher back in the day, by the way. I know a lot of people used to make fun of him, but I saw him smash those one time at a show in Milwaukee, and it was really, really fun. I liked it. All right, but look, if you all of what you're saying might be true, there's still an opportunity for them to finish the job. But finishing the job also has to include getting the highly enriched uranium. And we don't seem to have the plan for that. Obviously, they're not going to spell out special forces are going into the mountainside. But Bibi made it pretty clear on the 60 Minutes interview that the only way to get that stuff is to go in and get it.
Yep. And that's one of the things he told Major Garrett on that interview is that Trump told him, we're going to have to go get it. And then I was like, great, we'll help you. We're all about that. They're not. Trump's red lines. Say what you want about the rhetoric and the carrots and the sticks and the bluster and the rhetoric. The red lines have never changed. They're not going to get a nuke. They're not going to keep any of that uranium. They're not going to even be able to keep it if they dilute it down to 2.5%. They're not going to have enriched uranium if they want any for civilian power generation purposes, for civilian use. We'll either give it to them or they can buy it at a low cost on the open market. But they're not going to enrich it. They're not going to have anything to start with. We don't trust them to dilute it. It's a non-starter. They're not going to have it. And honestly, they're not going to be able to stop us from taking it if we keep ramping it up.
Duane Patterson, hotair.com and Duane's World Podcast. I think, and I think maybe you and I are going to disagree on this, but I think the president and the administration, they're making a mistake by minimizing the gas cost effect on the American people at this point, saying it's worth it when you say you decimate. I think you sound like Democrats when you do that. And I think it's a big miscalculation. And I think people on Capitol Hill know that right now. So that's why the timetable here is important. And if you're going to go in and finish the job, it better not be after the 4th of July. It better be before Memorial Day. Let me just say that.
Which is why I think when he comes, this is only a 2-day trip to China. When he comes back to D.C. on Friday, this weekend, I wouldn't stray too far from the news, because what I think is coming is he's going to have to hit them awfully hard, because to affect what you want to affect, you now have to make it as painful as possible in that regime for them to stick around. And we took out all the targets of opportunity that we wanted, and that's great. But now it's time to ratchet it up and make it so that they cannot stay in power anymore. And that's going to require a lot of big, important things going boom. And the sooner we get on with it, and the sooner we do the big steps we've got to do, the sooner we get over the hump and you get into July, and now we're talking about what takes place after that.
I hope you're right. You have no idea how much I hope you're right. Let me touch on one more topic. I'm going to play some of this audio in a few minutes because I haven't touched on it yet, and this was fascinating. Did you pay attention to the hearing today from the whistleblower on COVID with Rand Paul's committee on Capitol Hill?
And believe me, nothing would make me happier than to see
Fauci.
Dr. Fauci see nothing but obstructed daylight through bars the rest of his life. I'm not a fan of that guy at all. But Rand Paul promised the star at the sun and the moon today, and what we got was like a meteorite out in New Mexico. We didn't get as much as we thought we wanted to get. We got nothing that we didn't already know, actually. So was it okay testimony for what it was? Yes. Did it really honestly tell us anything? Was it the smoking gun against Fauci? Not as much as I really would have wanted to.
Yeah, that might be true, but I
wanted to.
His testimony was pretty compelling, and people, it's another one of those stories that's probably not going to get covered at all. Josh Hawley was one of those that was asking some of the questions of this guy. James Erdman is the whistleblower. I'm going to get to some of that audio coming up next. By the next time I talk to you next week, we better have Operation, what are they going to call it? Sledgehammer? We're going to play Peter Gabriel, and then he's going to get all pissed because he's a wacko, and he's going to sue him to stop using the name, right?
Peter Gabriel, baby.
All right. We'll see you. Take care, Duane.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
MoDOT reporting an accident eastbound 270 approaching Lindbergh. Watch for that one in the right lanes. And we've got an accident again on eastbound 270, really close to the Canal Bridge, and a parking lot jam back to Riverview. 370 westbound jams at 141. We've got moderate volume in pockets on 70 westbound from Jennings Station Road all the way out through Wentzville. 6440, there was an accident close to Clayton Skinker and that caused a delay back past Kings Highway. And slow pockets, really. There was another accident. This one was before Ballas in the right lane. So just some slow pockets out to 270, again at Clarkson, and then one more time between Winghaven and the 70 split. It's southbound 141 that's heavy and slow at 64. Southbound 270, slow pockets approaching Olive through Doherty Ferry. And northbound is jammed, headed just north of 64. 55 looks good. If you're headed into Illinois, we're fine on the Poplar Street Bridge, but jammed eastbound 64 on either side of 255. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Yeah, this testimony today by this James Urban guy, I think it was pretty good, and I'm going to share some of that, what Rand Paul said at that committee, and Josh Hawley as well. Coming up.
For the last 33 years, you've discovered that at Banner Construction, we pride ourselves on quality craftsmanship. We believe the single most important decision homeowners must make when considering an exterior restoration project is who do you hire. At Banner, we provide well-engineered, meaningful, long-term solutions to transform your home into the pride of the neighborhood. Let us help you fall in love with your home all over again. Call or visit bannerconstruction.com and have a banner day.
It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
Men, need a clinic that accepts all insurance, including Medicare? U.S. Men's Medical Center in St. Peters does. U.S. Men's helps men experiencing loss of energy, focus, concentration, and low libido. And they accept all insurance, even Medicare, for testosterone replacement therapy. Patients love the staff and the fact that, yes, I'm going to say it again, they accept all insurance, including Medicare. Feel better? Call U.S. Men's Medical Center at 636-244-5333.
Stan Musial, he missed a season in his prime to serve his country in the Navy.
Honor a legend on Saturday, May 16th when the Cardinals face the Kansas City Royals. Fans can secure a Stan Musial military bobblehead presented by Coca-Cola and Deerbirds. This patriotic collectible celebrates Stan's Hall of Fame career and his service to our country. A true symbol of character on and off the field. A tribute worth displaying and remembering. Don't miss it. Get tickets and details at cardinals.com/promotions.
Paging all nurses and healthcare heroes. This night is for you. Join the Cardinals for Nurses Appreciation on Wednesday, May 20th and Thursday, May 21st at Busch Stadium. With a special theme ticket, you'll receive a healthcare-inspired Cardinal sweatshirt plus a coupon for a complimentary drink. It's our way of saying thank you for all that you do in our community. Don't miss the special theme at the ballpark. Details and tickets at cardinals.com/theme.
Do you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS like Mark?
I've been doing home remodeling for 30 plus years, but the economy crashed. I wound up losing my home, losing my job, and on top of that, owing the IRS a ton of money. I owed the IRS $114,000. It really, truly was the worst part of my life.
Then Mark found tax relief advocates.
On news radio, I heard about TRA, and I thought, what's the worst that could happen? So I picked up the phone and I called them. When it was all said and done, TRA settled my $114,000 debt for $100, and I'm telling you, I was ecstatic. Could not believe it. Would recommend TRA to anyone.
If you owe 10 or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to the IRS, don't lose hope. Do what Mark did and call TRA for a consultation.
But TRA did. They gave me a second chance, and I'm forever grateful.
Visit TRA.com or call 800-491-9914. 800-491-9914. That's 800-491-9914.
The Mark Reardon Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
So did you notice what I'm using as a mouse pad over here today? It's a fancy manila folder. Brad took masking tape, Brad Range, from Annie's show, because all we had here was the top of the console. We're in a temporary studio because they're doing some work down in our studio. Here's what I will say. I told Sue this earlier. You know, we can we like to make fun of our own selves and self-deprecating humor in our studios and our technical problems. But what they're doing in our studio looks very impressive to me. I peeked today.
Love that.
And there's like this huge TV screen that's curved monitor that's going to be in front of me. Like
Oh, that's awesome.
The whole size of the board, the screen is that size. So I can imagine we'll have some consolidation of some of the images, which will be good. I
That's
like
awesome.
that. And I think we might actually get some better views of our show in the studio for the stream. And let me just explain that this way. Annie and Mark, they don't run the board. And the reason
Right.
that's important is because the camera can be right on them and there's not a lot of stuff in the way. I run my own board because I'm a control freak and I've done it my entire radio career since I was 15 years old. And because of that, the positioning of the camera is not as comfortable when you watch it on the stream, which I really don't care much about that. But if you want to see us a little better, you're going to have, I think,
Yes.
access to that next week. All right, let's talk about Dr. Fauci and COVID real quick. I mean, I'm still in a situation where, and I don't know how the rest of you are, but there's still things for me that come up every week that piss me off about the things that we did during COVID. And a lot of this week has been, maybe reminiscing in a very, very poor way because of what I cannot mention because I declared on Monday that this was going to be a virus-free zone. And I haven't mentioned that thing at all right?
Good.
And I don't want to. But what I think this country did and what Dr. Fauci did to Americans, to kids in particular, is outrageous.
It
now,
is.
I don't think he'll spend a day behind bars. I know that that's what some people are calling for. But this James Erdman guy, who was a whistleblower, he appeared before, he was with the CIA, Special Operations Officer James Erdman III, delivered testimony before the Senate Homeland Security Committee. Rand Paul is the chair of that. He opened up the hearing in this fashion earlier.
After millions died, children lost years of learning. Small businesses were destroyed. Civil liberties were restricted, and dissenting Americans were censored and smeared. The government owes its people the evidence. Our witness is testifying publicly today at great personal risk. He and other brave whistleblowers have come forward because the truth was being buried, because government secrecy cannot become government impunity.
So, Duane, my previous guest, he may have had a little bit more of an opportunity to hear the entire hearing today. I was not able to do that, but I do know, and I have some audio from Mr. Erdman. So Duane's take was there weren't as many bombshells, perhaps, that came out of this that we were anticipating, and some of the information was already known. But, I mean, I still think when you look at what Erdman is saying, and he's very, very specific here, he says Dr. Fauci's role was intentional. Like he was the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and this whole topic of the origin was alive from the very beginning. I mean, remember when we said things, some of us said things, and I was careful about it. I didn't know if it was a lab leak or something else, right? But man, you mentioned lab leak in the first few months of this thing, and the Democrats and everyone got, it's not a lab leak, but it was, okay?
By the time 2023 rolls around, they've got their answer. They say, 6 of the 7 technical people on that team. So there's 10 people on the team. 6 of the 7 technical experts say, yep, we still think it's a lab leak. We still think it's a lab leak. And they were sticking to their guns. Management changed the analytic line. They changed the conclusion to a non-consensus call. Actually, worse than that, they said that the exact words were, we may never precisely know the origin of SARS-CoV-2. Precisely. Precisely is not a term analysts use. They use like low confidence, medium confidence, yes, no. Precisely is a word you use when you want to deliberately end discussion.
Okay, I'm going to have to maybe take his word on that. That seems like semantics involved there. The bottom line, I don't care what word they use, is they were lying about it. Okay, so here he is with Senator Hawley.
Government owes its people the evidence.
This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. And then people wonder, gee, why are the American people not trusting of officials? I wonder, why are they? I'll tell you why, because we are repeatedly lied to.
And they're all part of the same, ecosystem. The planets are all revolving around the same star. And so you get groupthink. You get enough people shouting something down, it gets shouted down. And that happened repeatedly. The accountability piece has to be there. Otherwise, you're this is just going to keep happening.
Yeah, and I think the likelihood of the next bite I'll play for you is very unlikely. I don't think Dr. Fauci is going to be indicted or go to prison or anything like that. I think that there's, somebody that should take a look at that. I just think it's unlikely. I'm a realist when it comes to these things. But here's what Senator Hawley said.
The Biden administration lied to the American public when they issued their COVID origins report. They lied about the documents they had. They lied about the involvement of Wuhan. Anthony Fauci lied about the origins of COVID, and he tried to interfere and intervene behind the scenes to get the CIA and other agencies to change their findings. And it's incredible. I hope he's indicted.
Yeah, well, I hope he is too. I just don't think that the reality is. But I want to address the groupthink comment from Mr. Reardon because this was really the problem. Dr. Marty McCary was let go from his position as FDA commissioner yesterday. He either quit or he was fired. He had rubbed Senator Hawley the wrong way on some issues related to some of the abortion drugs. Trump knew that, he wasn't popular with some of the other folks on Capitol Hill, so they gave Dr. McCary an off-ramp. But I mentioned Dr. McCary because he came on in the very early days. Dr. Siegel and Dr. McCary were voices out there of reason in the early days of COVID. And what Dr. McCary in particular would say is, why are we just accepting the word of Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, and there was one other. Why are we not thinking about this from another perspective? And he would offer alternative perspectives that I found extremely valuable. And by the way, in the end, were borne out as the truth and what really was happening. And there were so many different things that happened that the media, conflated the whole. Remember when it was determined that the virus was on a subway car for 2 days, so we know that it can live.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they scared the crap out of people with that, and it didn't mean a thing because no one was getting it from surfaces, right? I remember, I always talk about taking my sweatshirt or my shirt and putting it over my hand when I was even walking into the convenience store because they had us all convinced that this stuff was just leaping in the air from one person to the other, and everyone was equally able to get killed by the COVID SARS virus, right? Which was not the case. It was if you were obese, if you were over the age of 80, if you had other comorbidities. For the rest of us who were forced to, get vaccines and prove our vaccination at concerts and this ridiculous stuff, we weren't at risk. And the teachers who claimed that they couldn't teach because they were going to get killed, that was never a risk. And you screwed these kids up for a long, long time. Congratulations on that. One more cut from Mr. Erdman here.
Intelligence community leaders and senior analysts downplayed the possibility that the COVID pandemic originated as a result of a lab incident. Dr. Fauci's role in the cover-up was intentional. Dr. Fauci influenced the analytical process and findings by leveraging his position to ensure the IC consulted with a conflicted list of curated subject matter experts, public health officials, and scientists. Following the CIA's COVID relook that culminated in 2023, the CIA retaliated against analysts supporting the lab leak hypothesis.
Yeah, so there's a lot of complications here, and that is, that's I think, really astounding whistleblower report from Mr. Erdman, I think worth listening to, so that's why I wanted to play the audio here. Dan Reardon's coming up next. We're going to talk about the PGA Championship.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
Accident up north, and this is the second one today at eastbound 270 approaching the Canal Bridge. And, they're doing some work up there, and it's very few lanes to begin with, so when one gets blocked, it really jams things up. And it's jammed back to Riverview. Now, we also have a jam. There was an accident eastbound 6440 past 270, and that was in the left lane. Some volume there. Westbound 40 lines up Kings Highway in pockets out through 270. Little bit of Clarkson, and then west of Winghaven out through 70. 70 westbound. Moderate volume at Jennings Station Road, pretty slow at the airport, and then things open up and it's moderate volume in pockets. Southbound 270, a little bit slow there, approaching Olive down through Doherty Ferry, but northbound is really slow, headed for Ladue Road. And we look fine on the Poplar Street Bridge. There's an accident westbound 44 at the Poplar, so right there in front of the Arch grounds. And we've got eastbound 70 slowing at 64, eastbound 64 slowing at 159. I'm Sue Thomas. That's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Spring and summer air should feel fresh, not full of dust and allergens and whatever winter left behind in your air ducts. Mark Cox here. You know, your vents are the lungs of your home, and if they're dirty, you're breathing it in every day. That's where Zero Res comes in, backed by thousands of Google reviews and a 4.9 rating. This month only, get a whole system air duct cleaning for just $5.99. 314-474-2020 or visit ZeroResSTL.com and ask for the 97.1 special.
Did you know replacing old vinyl windows with more vinyl windows might not be the best choice? Hi, it's Kim, and I'm here to tell you about Infinity from Marvin Windows, because these fiberglass windows, they're energy efficient, they're beautiful, and they're custom built to fit your home perfectly. The team at Lakeside Renovation and Design just makes the process so easy. I love the fact that they even offer a lifetime workmanship warranty. Look, if you're tired of drafts, high energy bills, or maybe hard to open windows, now is the time to upgrade. Visit windowsbylakeside.com to schedule your free consultation today.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money, Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
I'm fixing to tell you something that the insurance industry does not want you to ever hear. Bullies often delay and deny. I see them sitting on premiums paid and making money and dragging it out for as long as they can. Many times, we're forced to take them to court. I'm John Morgan of Morgan & Morgan. Their high-paid lobbyists are on a mission to make sure that at trial, jurors are not allowed to learn that the at-fault party has insurance, and in some cases, lots of it. I can think of no case in all my years where there was no insurance for the at-fault party. So let's fight back. It's all these bullies understand. Tell everybody you know the truth. If you've been injured in a car crash or hurt at a store or business, visit forthepeople.com. We're here 24/7. It's that easy. Morgan & Morgan, forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
It's time for a $98 AC tune-up.
And this portion of the show at 5:34 is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
For details and a list of all station contest rules, visit www.971talk.com/rules. Born in the Midwest, built on common sense. FM Talk. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
I'll have an audio cut of the day before things wrap here at the end of the hour. We're going to talk a little professional golf right now with our expert, Dan Reardon. No relation, as I like to say. The PGA Championship kicks off tomorrow morning. I think it's like a 5:45 tee time, isn't it, Dan? It's real early outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah, 6:50 is the first tee time.
So that would be 5:50 our time, right? So I guess that makes a little bit more sense. It was ESPN was translating that into Central Time, so that makes a little bit more sense. Look, let me start with this because I honestly cannot believe, and Dan, you know how fast the time goes, that it was 2018 when Brooks Koepka was battling out with Tiger Woods at Belle Reve Country Club, that it was 8 years already. And that was the last one that was played in August, right? They started the spring PGAs right after that one, didn't they?
That's correct. And it was interesting today when the PGA of America met with the press. They were adamant about the fact that there's been a push to move them back to August, and they're adamant about the fact that they're going to hold on to this May date going forward. Next year they're in Texas, and they have to play the PGA in Texas in May. They can't play it in August. But he says we're not going back to August.
And what is the particular reason for that? Is it weather related or otherwise?
Well, weather will control how many venues they can go to. When they play in May, they get the whole country available to them.
Right.
If they play in August, I think Kerry Hayes said they had a rain over 8 of the last 11 PGAs they played in August. So, and 100-degree temperatures. I remember being at Southern Hills when it was 110 degrees, and I was amazed that people weren't dying at that.
Well, that's the thing. Even here, I mean, it was brutally hot that week that we had it here. We got a little rain and maybe a front that came in to cool things off. But yeah, it's ridiculous. It really is. So let's talk about this year. And one of the things that happened yesterday, and I don't know if you have an update, but Rory kind of took a step back from the practice rounds because you're telling me it had like a blister underneath a toenail, which sounds disgusting, gross, and painful at the same time.
It gets worse than that, Mark. Although there's every indication that he's going to play. There's been no news to the contrary. But this looks like a torture sequence out of the James Bond movie. On Monday night, it was irritating him. It's the little toe on the right foot, and it was bothering him enough that he soaked the foot to soften the nail, ripped off the nail, and then punctured the blister. Now, you'd think a guy with his kind of money could have hired a doctor to do something better than that.
Oh, my goodness. I guess he got impatient. He's like, I'm going to tear the thing off. That didn't work out well, though, did it?
So now he's wearing shoes that are size larger to give him more room, and they have to tape the toes so they don't butt up against each other. But there's no way he goes out on the golf course and doesn't have that toe in his mind. And, he was limping on the weekend at Quail Hollow because it was bothering him. And it's not going to – maybe they can use a painkiller, but I just think it has to be in his mind for the whole week.
Oh, my gosh. I can't imagine that it wouldn't be. I have wisely not tried to pronounce the name of this golf course because I'm not 100% sure on how to pronounce it. So I'm going to let you do that first so you can teach me.
Oh, it's just Aronimink.
Aronimink. Okay. Sue, how about this? This is the first time that Aronimink Golf Club has hosted the PGA Championship since your guy, Gary Player, won in 1962.
Oh, my gosh.
There's a little history for you, right, Dan Reardon?
Love that.
But that's in terms of a major championship. They actually hosted the event we have coming up, the
BMW last year, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Or a couple years ago.
They've held there. So it's a tournament-tested site. It's a very different golf course, and I'm really looking forward to this year because it's a golf course I've never seen, and that's exciting to me. And then I just checked the radar for Philadelphia, and there is rain overnight, but it looks like a minimum amount of rain, so the playability of the course probably will not change, and they'll get the course they've wanted. And by the way, you talk about a dedicated membership. The members at Aronimink have not been allowed to play the course since November of last year.
Oh, my goodness. Are you kidding me?
And so the condition of the golf course is pristine.
Boy, I'd love to see some of the emails and hear some of the member complaints. Look, the Belle Reve members are already pissed off about the rough being too high out there right now. So how do the LIV names play into all this week? DeChambeau, John Rahm, I mean, they were asked some tough questions with the media last week about the LIV future. They seem to be, sticking with it. Bryson seems to want to go rogue completely on his own with YouTube or something like that. But how does that play into the mix, do you think, this weekend?
Rahm came in and visited with the media, and I thought he handled it extremely well, but it has to be a distraction. It's interesting to me that Bryson did not come in and talk to the media. So anybody that wanted to talk to him had to go find him out or find him someplace. And I think that's not a good sign. And I keep throwing out the third name, not the only one, but I keep throwing out Tyrrell Hatton as the player that I think out of LIV comes in under the radar.
Yeah.
He's already assured that next year he can play the DP Tour if LIV goes away. So he's playing under no pressure. He's not under contract. He's in a situation where he can just play and be himself. And himself is entertaining. This is the guy that has one of the greatest temper tantrum performances in golf. I mean, he's hilarious.
Oh, I know. I love it, though. I do.
Himself with the club.
Let's talk about some of the pairings tomorrow. So Cam Young, Keegan Bradley, Justin Thomas. That's an interesting one. Scotty, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Justin Rose. I mean, Justin Rose keeps performing it seemingly in every, tournament. Bryson, Ludwig Aberg, and Ricky Fowler. Ricky's had, a little game this year, I think. And then this one, obviously, you mentioned Tyrrell Hatton, Xander, Brooks Koepka in that group. And then if Rory stays healthy, I mean, these back-to-backs that start basically, I'd say at 8:18, then Rory, Jordan, and John Rahm, those are three threesomes going out after 8 o'clock that you're going to watch all day long.
And then they come back at you in the afternoon because of the people you mentioned, because the Fleetwood group leads off, and then it's Young, Keegan Bradley, and Justin Thomas, and behind them, Scotty Scheffler, Fitzpatrick, and Rose. Those are 3 in a row. So if you're out of that tournament and you want to watch golf all day, You've got marquee names in the morning. You got marquee names in the afternoon. That afternoon group, and I think this is a tournament that late early is the best draw for Thursday, Friday, because the players don't know this course, and they'll get a read on the greens. And everything about this course is based on the greens, the speed of the greens. I heard Kerry Hayes say something today I've never heard mentioned at a major championship. He said the slopes on the greens there are severe enough that they may adjust the speed depending on the green. You know, when they go to Augusta, all the greens are cut to the exact same length. He suggested that may not be the case at Aronimink. And in fact, he almost assured people that 11, which is the most treacherous slope that they have to deal with, will probably be cut a little differently. I think that's unusual.
Interesting. Yeah, Dan, you mentioned late early. I want to explain that to people. So the early tee times for tomorrow morning, some of those that we were mentioning, they will go off in the afternoon. So that's early late. The afternoon tee times tomorrow, they reverse it, right? So everyone kind of plays, they go off on different holes. Obviously, the whole course is full because some people will tee off on the 10th hole.
Absolutely. And when Tiger was rehabilitating and coming back to play, he always wanted early late because he had almost a half day between his finish on Thursday and the start of his round on Friday. And many times it comes into play with weather, particularly in the Open Championship. It comes into play with morning weather. And you know, the players who play late, they will watch on television. I guarantee you that people like Scotty Scheffler and that, they'll tune in to see what the greens are rolling like early in the morning, and they'll get a read on this golf course and a head start over the rest of the players.
Yeah, no, I believe that for sure. All right, so I think I would have maybe gone with Rory for the win if it wasn't for this, this toe issue. But, a pairing with Rory and Scotty could be kind of fun on Sunday afternoon. Maybe Jordan mixed in there, so we'll see what happens in Pennsylvania this weekend. You're going out there tomorrow, Dan?
I'll be there the 4 tournament days, Mark.
Okay, we will check in with you. We'll get some leaderboard updates in the next couple of days. I'm very much looking forward to it. Here's a question, because with the Masters, you actually literally had to watch in several different places. Do you know what the TV schedule is for this? Is this all ESPN?
I think it's down to 2 players. It's CBS, and since I'll be on site, I didn't pay attention to what the Thursday Friday partner was. But I believe it's in just 2 locations.
It gets confusing. Like even last weekend for the Cardinals, I think literally they played on a different network each 4 games or 3 games. I don't know how people keep up with it. Yeah, because it's either on regular TV or if it's on your app now or if it's on Apple TV Plus. Yeah, it's confusing, right? Dan, have a great time.
How they pay you all.
Yeah, exactly. Have a great time. We'll hear from you tomorrow night.
Enjoy it.
All right, take care.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
You know what? I finally bought one of those hats that just has P on it that I saw.
The Puma
letter
hats?
P. Yeah, the Puma hats.
Ricky Fowler likes those. I know, I like
them.
those too. I can't, I have one of those and I can't pull it off.
You can't?
Yeah, not because it's more of a little flat
it
bill
is
thing.
A flat bill.
I can't do flat bills.
I'm going to bring it. You tell me.
You could probably pull it off.
I'm not sure.
Wouldn't you like to see Fred in a flat bill?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Okay, I'll bring it in.
He's shaking his head right there.
Oh, that might be my favorite thing.
I know, right?
Okay, eastbound 64 is slow on either side of 255. We've got road work going on there. Missouri side, eastbound 270, still a slow go as you head for the Chain of Rocks Bridge, an earlier accident east of there to blame. 70 westbound slow at Jennings Station Road at 141, that sort of thing, on out through Wentzville. And moderate volume westbound 40 that's Kings Highway out through McCausland, and then they cleared the accident at 270, but slowing again, Lake St. Louis Boulevard. Southbound 270, slow pockets Olive through Doherty Ferry. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic. 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
We have audio cut of the day coming up here in a couple of minutes. I have an incredible offer from Stewart's American Mortgage, and this is something if you're looking at buying a new home. Look, a lot of people are worried about rates. Rates have, gone back and forth. They're not like they used to be. A lot of us are in rates that are right around 3%. But Stewie has this offer for you for new customers buying a home. It's a 1% discount on the interest rate for the first year. So for the first year of your new loan, you lock in a 1% lower interest rate on a new 30-year loan, and you still get the bagel loan. That's no closing costs. So you're going to get the interest rate lower by 1% plus the bagel loan. For new clients only, that's a great, great offer. And they can explain to you how this all works, because the bagel loan is called the bagel loan because it looks like a zero. And for you as a customer, and Stewie set it up this way, he wanted to save people money. You save thousands of dollars because you don't pay the fees that other lenders charge for. So, for example, with a refi, you pay no appraisal fees, no closing costs, no title fees, and no broker fees. If you buy a home and you take out a loan for $200,000 or more, you pay zero lender fees. And in this situation, not only that, but you get your interest rate lower by 1% for the first year of the 30-year mortgage. Stewie has been doing this for 30 years, and he handles most of this on his own with his son, Jordan. I'm going to give you his cell phone number. If you're interested in this offer or any offer, he can get you into some cash if you need it. 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440, or Google the Bagel Loan. NMLS number 226715. 97.1 FM Talk is proud to support the Guns N' Hoses First Responders Soccer Cup, May 30th at Worldwide Technology Soccer Park. Law enforcement battles firefighters and EMTs on the field, all for a great cause. 971talk.com/events.
This is Congressman Bob Onder. Americans demanded border security, and House Republicans delivered. According to the Department of Homeland Security, for 10 consecutive months, U.S. Customs and Border Protection has reported 0 illegal aliens released at the border. I'm proud to have worked with the Trump administration to secure our southern border and uphold our immigration laws, and will keep fighting to advance strong policies that protect Missourians and keep America safe.
Paid for by official funds authorized by the House of Representatives.
To have a roof over your head, a nice roof over your head, is very important.
That's Rick talking about his experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago, and they were very cooperative on getting us the right paint. They were in and out and done in no time. Once it was finished, looked great. We were very happy with it.
The main reason Rick called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by a 25-year transferable warranty.
We've watched a lot of people get their house painted 3 or 4 times, and we haven't had to do any of it. I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to have to paint it every 5-7 years.
Take a tip from Rick and put down the paintbrush and call Rhino Shield for your free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
We got Rhino Shield 18 years ago. Financially makes sense, especially if it's going to last like this did. Still looks great.
Call now. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
No pain, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
If you owe the IRS, you have a legal issue, and you need the Lance Drury Law Firm. We'll protect your rights. Log on at lancedrurylaw.com or call us toll-free at 888-367-6512.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
Mark Reardon is St. Louis conservative.
So do you remember the Alex Murdaugh case? This was just from a couple years ago. Yeah, we talked about it quite a bit. That's the guy in South Carolina. Like, he was a legal giant.
Yes.
And the whole family had a reputation. Well, he was found guilty of killing his wife and his son, but he had his murder convictions overturned today. Now,
what?
It's interesting because there's something to this. So I will use this as an opportunity to explain the story to you with this particular segment here.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to play here is this is, that's too loud, sorry about that. This is back when he was convicted in the aftermath. Martha McCallum from Fox talking with some of the jury members. And you know what I remember about this is that Phil Holloway, who is a regular guest on a lot of these crime stories, we were on the air, it was like 5:35, the case had gone to the jury.
Yes.
We're like, this is going to take a while. And before the damn commercial break was over, the verdict had come in, shows what we know. But this is what jury members told Martha McCallum a couple years ago. Let's see, here we go.
Specifically, what do you remember her saying, Myra?
I remember her walking.
Let me set this up better. Okay, the key here is that the clerk, the court clerk, was putting her thumbs on the scale of justice. That's what the Supreme Court.
In what way?
Well,
all right,
you're going to hear it here. So that's what they're talking about. What did the clerk do?
Specifically, what do you remember her saying, Myra?
I remember her walking through the door, and we were all kind of lined up getting ready to go in, and she had an enthusiasm about her. She came in and she said, "Today is going to be epic." canal
Forgot about
straws.
that. Yeah, it's coming back.
Yeah, she came in and she was, like I said, it's going to be epic, and she was lit up, and we're all just kind of like, what's going on?
If you've
And
ever
she
been
said-
if you've ever been in a court before, the clerk's not supposed to do that.
No.
The clerk's not supposed to talk at all. But apparently, the clerk in this case did that.
So what you're all suggesting, is that Becky Hill was manipulating this jury to make sure that Alec Murdaugh was found guilty. Correct? Do you believe that?
Yes.
Do you believe that?
I do.
Do you believe that, Joe?
I know Becky Hill only through this trial. I like her personally. I don't know whether she had this grand scheme. We know now that she was writing a book. Maybe she saw a guilty verdict as more profitable than a not guilty. But whether she is genuinely the wizard behind the curtain in all of this, I don't think anyone knows that.
I like a Southern gentleman who's very diplomatic like that.
Yes.
That was good, and I do think that there
was
were motives
really
there.
good.
But look, what happened here? A couple things. He's not getting out of prison right now. Okay, that's not going to happen. There's going to be a retrial. Nancy Grace weighing in says, look, the court had no choice here. They got it right.
Did the Supreme Court do the right thing? The South Carolina Supreme Court? They did. They had to do it. I've said from day one when I found out about comments made by the clerk of court, who I met several times, very cheerful, bubbly lady. If she said what they claim she says, there had to be a reversal. You cannot speak to jurors like that. You have to treat them like gold. You have to treat them as a rare gem. They are to be kept away from everything and everybody, or you will take the trial, and she did. That is the grounds for reversal.
Wow.
And that doesn't mean,
guys.
by the way, that doesn't mean that he's going to be, that the jury even finds that he's not, or feels that he's not guilty. They just feel like she should not have been saying things and talking to the jury and influencing the jury. And that was clearly happening throughout this trial. I mean, you had, 4 jury members with Martha all agreeing, saying, yeah, this was kind of weird, right?
There was no way around this reversal. And you know what I've got to say to Alex Murdaugh? Bring it on. You'll be convicted again. And imagine what this is doing to the other son, the only relative left alive. He's going to have to be dragged through this whole thing again.
Yeah.
That's
a
awful.
mess. I mean, can't he just plead guilty? Did they take the death penalty off the table?
I can't remember.
But I mean, these are people, though. We talked about this the other day. I think there are people, and this guy Alex Murdaugh is one of them. They truly convinced themselves, like OJ, that they didn't do it.
I didn't do it. I mean, I'm above it.
The details of this case are
Horrifying.
Horrifying.
Here's the thing. I didn't realize that the clerk was, I mean, I knew that person was supposed to be neutral, but really the influence of saying something like that's enough to throw the trial? That's, wow.
Well,
I mean, I did not realize that could even be a thing.
Yeah, I don't know that the court is necessarily ruling that through the trial. They're saying that the conduct was inappropriate. And when you have, this is, I mentioned the death penalty a couple of minutes ago because I filed the death penalty, and decades ago, I literally used to debate the issue of the death penalty on panels and stuff like that.
Oh.
But the one thing about those attorneys is 90% of the time when you have appeals for a death penalty case, it has nothing to do related to guilt or innocence.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably the case with a lot of appeals. It's very particular. Look, the Constitution's important. You have to adhere by the guidelines. And if something inappropriate happened with the conduct in the court, then the Supreme Court or whoever the appellate court is has no choice but to do this. They're not, by the way, they're not even blaming the prosecution here. They're saying the prosecution had no bearing or influence here. She kind of went rogue. Now, apparently, she was writing this book called Behind the Doors of Justice, The Murdaugh Murders. It was pulled from publication after plagiarism allegations were made. As her book title suggests, it turns out Hill was quite busy behind the doors of justice, thwarting the integrity of the justice system she was sworn to protect and uphold. That's what they said in South Carolina in a 27-page ruling that was, for whatever reason, unsigned. But, to go through all this again is
that's
just
so awful.
ridiculous. But look, these lawyers are going to fight it because there was no DNA, there was no blood evidence. There was ample amount of circumstantial evidence. The guy is guilty as hell, but you have to prove that to a jury. And I guess he's got enough resources, Fred, at this point. I mean, I would think that money would still be an issue for Alex Murdaugh and his family. But that's a great point about the surviving son, too. I mean, that guy. Now, I've never did a dive into the Netflix or some of the other documentaries out there. There's a couple of them on the family.
I saw it like a Dateline.
Yeah.
And it was Well, those things are,
I know.
are manipulative.
And isn't the son Buster the one that's?
I think so.
Yeah, I think he still thinks his dad is innocent.
Oh,
he
was
does?
railroaded.
It's a weird family, let me tell you. We're back tomorrow at 3.
Traffic from the 97.1 FM Talk Traffic Center.
We talk about that, though. Are you ever going to believe your father or, your brother did something like that?
I think you can.
I
do. I think you
eventually
can.
You can get there.
But some people can't. I mean,
Yes.
I don't, I understand sticking by family members and stuff like that. But look, when the writing is on the wall, how can you not?
I know. You got to be open-minded. Okay, southbound 270 is jammed at 70. Okay, it's a little bit slow. Westbound 64 still lines up near Hampton out through McCausland, eastbound east of Lindbergh through Big Bend. And out west, 64, just some volume west of Winghaven out through the 70 split. We're fine on the bridges downtown, but 64 eastbound slows past 255 due to road work. I'm Sue Thomas with Traffic 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum